Hello and welcome, everyone. We're back with Bruce Lee again in our series with Michael on the Satanic Media Agenda. And this is where we branch off, I believe, in this session. Michael had instructed me to watch this movie called The Man with the Golden Gun, which I'd never seen before, I don't think, unless I saw it some long time ago when I wasn't really paying attention and had no idea, what this satanic world was all about at that time, where I believe many of our youth today, Michael, might find themselves in the same boat, where they are indoctrinated with all this false information only to learn later on in life that it is all a lie, a big, gigantic lie. Everything that we have to suffer with. Yes.
Everything is a lie in this world. You see that? What sense to do 5,425 sessions about something when it's all a lie in this world? I'm so fed up with all the stuff, but we are really seeing the light at the end of the tunnel, so to speak. But we have to have so many facts here that really I can have my own opinion. Everybody's free to have his own opinions. But we're doing it as a service for the Lord, because the Lord Jesus Christ says, I am the truth, the way, and the life. And so he's the truth, and we are just eager for the truth. And so that we have to look behind all the lies and all this world. It's such a mess, but I'm eager to look behind the curtain, so that at least if you're not convinced, I have another opinion about this stuff, that you really see where the conclusions are coming from. And then you see it's the same thing as was in Kennedy, as it was in the Manson story, as it is in Bruce Lee. They're all lying to you. And they will continually lie today and tomorrow. So when there is a new threat coming up, be it from the Russians, from China, from Taiwan, from anywhere else, 30-second pandemic, flu, or what else, you see that it's just the old things, and it's just a bunch of lies. We have in Germany, we have a saying, the first thing which dies in war is the truth.
Yeah. That's right.
And it's a spiritual war here.
Yes.
Yeah. So Bruce Lee is all about death and destruction. You see that they had this Chinese heritage about martial arts, and that's what sets them apart, in their humble opinion, about the entire world. And so that's their pride. They have these Chinese martial arts, and but in the end, it's just a veneration of the Roman god Mars when you call it martial arts. Maybe you should have called it otherwise. Maybe you have to just call it Gung Fu. Or what else? But we are going into this. I just found a hilarious video called Bruce Lee Fighting Sound Effects, so to get you in the mood. Oh. Yeah, it's not about loving your neighbor as yourself. It's just about hitting your neighbor, that you're not being hit. So, just all these fun stuff beside me. I'm getting into the nitty-gritty. We have just talked about it. Maybe it is just more convenient to have a 2-page format here. Does it work? No, sure. Does not work. It only works with 90%? Maybe 92? Come on. 92. Yeah, 92 works. Maybe 93? So then 92 is stupid, because 9 and 2 is 11. So 93. No, only allows me 92. Okay, so.
You got to take 11. Doesn't that make sense in this satanic world? In this world,
anyway? Yeah. So this is called 007 movies, or Bruce Lee 007. Oh, what's the deal with it? Well,
who was that again, Michael? Was that, boy, I'm trying to remember the name of this, one of these satanic doctors back in history that was using that, 007. What was his name again? John D.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah. We will come to this. We will come to this. We already made a sessions about Kennedy, and let me tell you that you ain't seen nothing yet, because there are some sessions of Kennedy which are not been published yet. Usually, I thought it would be great to publish them maybe after Bruce Lee's series, or maybe after the fact that when Robert F. Kennedy maybe makes it as the candidate for the presidential, what else, I do not know, and really I do not care, because these are all just actors. Yeah, this is just controlled opposition. But as I was very interested in the research of Kennedy when it comes down to James Bond, we did an entire session about it. Why not look behind the fact that maybe it is related to Bruce Lee as well? Because that after we did that session on these strange circumstances of Dr. Donald Tare, when it comes down to being sent from Scotland Yard to Hong Kong to do the autopsy of Bruce Lee, when he has done an autopsy on Jimi Hendrix as well, I thought there might be some Freemason invention and influence in it as well. And we will go into Freemasonry also, but I have to think about to do it a little bit more cleverly, because I would like to do that as a criminal case, that we are now here all the inspectors and we are just looking at the hints. So first of all, we're doing this big session here about 007 movies and 007 and Secret Service. And then we go deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper down, so that we really see that, oh yeah, there is the connection between all the stuff. So let's look it up, if there is a connection between Freemasons or Secret Services and the case of Bruce Lee. So let's start. I was being hooked on that thing here because the task of any Secret Service is to do some actions here without the awareness of the general public. So if they try to fool and deceive you with the illusion of democracy, they have some armies and special people to get rid of some things in the backyard that no television and no broadcast and no media will show you, because this is just Secret Service. So there can't be a real democracy if that so-called state or republic is also a strange thing, but let's not get into this, if they are just running a Secret Service, because that means that you are not aware of the things that your so-called government is doing. So the term Secret Service already implies that there are some forbidden things been implemented in. And I was just amused to see that movie here, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, from Quentin Tarantino, with Margot Robbie here as the impersonation of Sharon Tate on the picture of the Wrecking Crew, the picture where Bruce Lee was the martial arts coordinator and teacher of Sharon Tate. And I said to myself, oh yeah, that's interesting, because she's there posing as James Bond, or having a gun at least. I said, okay, let's dive into that. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, where Bruce Lee was being displayed as an arrogant character being smashed by Brad Pitt, which is awkward, because Brad Pitt used, in my humble opinion, what I have found, used to hang out with his son, but that's another story. So Quentin Tarantino, don't be fooled. Of course, they are all just in Satanism. The problem is nowadays that the new normal is not socialism, but the new normal is Satanism. Satanism as a standard means that the few real Bible-believing Christians, these will be the outlaws, which has been promised in the book of Matthew or in the New Testament, that we will be the loonies, because the new the new normal means it's Satanism. Everybody does it, so it is not forbidden, it is not restricted. Yeah, it is the norm. That's the normal. You see, Quentin Tarantino, he's just making this kind of movies where violence is in it and prostitution and all the stuff. So all the things that these anti-Christian moviegoers want to see. Because to be successful in the anti-Christian world, in a satanic world, you have to do satanic movies. So there he's spot on, and he's a celebrity, of course, as well as a certain Joe Rogan, which I admire him for his backspinning kick, yeah. Never saw that beautiful backspinning kick, Joe Rogan. But Joe Rogan is controlled opposition. Yeah, against, for example, Anthony Fauci and all the stuff. Yeah, Joe Rogan, for example, he signed a deal with Disney. Disney are Freemasons 666. So where do you start? Where do you start? He promoted Donald Trump. Yeah, he was used as a controlled opposition during COVID-19 ritual, criticizing Jesuit Anthony Fauci, and his cousin Jared Way assigned to Warner Brothers Records and so Freemason, like I told you. So, and if you see that satanic gesture of the horns, yeah, of the Manu Cornuta, yeah, here in the case of a convicted murderer in Germany, as a Satanist who has chopped somebody into pieces, in the case of Bruce Lee showing that sign to Chuck Norris, or in the case of what was it, Mr. Steiner, I think it was, in Game of Death, yeah, you see we're out talking about Satanists, and you see the sign with the two fingers, and this is just the same sign of a convicted murder as a sign of Quentin Tarantino. So they're all just into Satanism. It's you can also think that maybe he's an actor and he did not chop off, but you see that everything's possible in this world. Yeah, I can enlarge it if you don't believe me, but I don't think that we go on into this nitty-gritty here. Remember, William Casey, as the CIA director in 1981, said, "We know our disinformation program is complete when everything the American public believes is false. So the real purpose of the Secret Service is to fool the people and to just get rid of any undesired opposition."
Michael, good Bible verse to fit in here to describe our modern, what can we call it, dilemma? Isaiah 5:20. Woe unto them that call evil good, and good evil, that put darkness for light, and light for darkness, that put bitter for sweet, and sweet for bitter. Yep, and it continues to say, woe unto them that are wise in their own eyes, and prudent in their own sight. Woe on them that are mighty to drink wine, and men of strength to mingle strong drink, which justify the wicked for reward, and take away the righteousness of the righteous from him. So these are the days and the age we live in is to the T to this scripture. We are switching from what our parents and their grandparents used to hold to, these traditions of what is good and what is evil, and we are switching it around and, laughing it off like children. And at some point, you have to come to grips with the demon that has been possessed in your soul, and you have to say, wait a second, the Bible says, woe unto them that call evil good and good evil. And that's what's happening, Michael, as far as I can tell.
Yeah, the problem is that we are speaking of Hollywood with Quentin Tarantino and all the other actors and all the media and all the radio station and broadcast. Everything, of course, is controlled. It's like in a Truman Show. Yeah, so
yeah, that's right. But if you go back to the history of the Jesuits, it's even in their oath.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
darkness for light and light for darkness. I mean.
Yeah. I'm not going accord to everything that the website here is putting out, but what I'm going to accord is that they work together as one factory to produce one homogeneous propaganda stream. Actors are selected and trained. Yes, if you just want to have your own things, then you're not becoming a star. It's just so obvious they're just putting Jews in front. Yeah, so they say, oh yeah, that's Jews controlled, but that's not correct because it's very strange. But look, there are some Freemason ties as well, for example, and other things too. And even John F. Kennedy's father was into directing movies and movie industry. But let's continue, I'd say. So this knowledge that they have, that they grant, because they are doing these actions, they are just doing false flag attacks in the case of Vietnam War, for example, the Bay of Tonkin incident, so to speak. They have the before knowledge, and it's very interesting because Bruce Lee's fighting system just is about having foreknowledge about the attacks of your opponent. It's called Jeet Kune Do, which is the way of the intercepting fist. So intercepting the attack of your opponent. That means that you have to be aware of what your opponent is trying to do. And that's what the Secret Service is all about. They have knowledge, and they have so much knowledge, they know what to do before any other party or the public, the lay people, or these average guys, these lowlies in their side are just being aware of. So they are doing all the tricks. Secret intelligence services. Yeah, so there are many in every country, in China, in Great Britain, America, all the stuff. We are just focusing on James Bond. Therefore, we have to focus on Great Britain. Great Britain, because once that was the world power before America was rising to fame. Great Britain. MI6 is the abbreviation of military intelligence. 6 is the British Secret Service of the British Empire in alliance with the Jesuits, the Church of Rome, and the United States Secret Service, CIA. Not Catholic is in action, but it has also another meaning. But therefore, you would have to know what the latest Kennedy sessions were about. But I can't have access now to everything, and maybe you have to look forward to these sessions. MI5 is in charge for domestic operations, and MI6 is for foreign countries. So therefore, many assume that 007 logo comes from the Earl of Leicester's and John Dee's symbolic signature when communicating with Queen Elizabeth. It's about the circle symbolize the private eyes, and that is just like the glasses here. 007 logo now is a pistol. Not a revolver anymore, because the pistol has more bullets, but a revolver anymore. Therefore, we go into a brief history of the Secret Service, I guess. So, let me just clean my mess here. 1500s, John Dee, a magician, works for spy master Francis Walsingham under control of the Cecil family. He develops the cryptographic system Enochian alphabet. The Cecils control Oxford and Trinity College of Cambridge, the Royal Society, and Freemasonry. Here, there is Freemasonry before 1717. Yes, there is. It's a 1,000-year-old secret cult. Although the Protestant British Empire and Catholic Church are rivals and enemies on the outside, they work together to take over the opium trade on the inside, so the esoteric, of their common enemies and all the stuff. 1884, the Massimo family founds the Fabian Society, the wolf in sheep's clothing logo, which I forgot to implement here. The British Empire and Russia fight over control over India and China, the great game or game of shadows, infiltration through anarchist terrorists. But you have to keep in mind when they are doing the drug trades, it's about money. It's money, money, money. It's the god of this world, it's mammon. So there's a book of Peter Hopkins called The Great Game. For many people, this is just a recurring item here. I have decided to use that frequently. Keep calm, because everything you will come across in the Bruce Lee script here is just a coincidence. The Great Game, or the Game of Shadows, was a power struggle based on Hegelian dialectics. The website says between Tsarist Russia and Russian Orthodox Church, mainly because the Russian Orthodox Church is the spiritual power behind the Tsarist. The Tsar has been seen as the protector of the church, but the church itself sees himself above the secular. Okay, this is Fabian Society, FS, the wolf in sheep's clothing. Yeah, thank you so much. So, it's about the opium trade. Yeah, that's the same stuff what happened in the older ages, what is happening lately with the CIA and the Golden Triangle, and the war in Afghanistan is all about money and drugs also. The control of India, Afghanistan, Iran and Tibet, preparation, and the British East India Company was the biggest company in the world, ruled 90 million Indians and had its own army and currency. You see the resemblance between the British East India Company flags and the United States flag?
Yeah, amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, and the United States flags has stripes, stars and stripes. Stripes are white and red. Red, the color of blood, and they are 13 for the 13 first states. 13. A very, very prominent number in Freemasonry, because 13 are the mythical, legendary pieces chopped off of the original 14 pieces of their death god Osiris in the underworld. Yeah, so 13 is not only a bad luck number, but or contributed to the expelling of the Knights Templars, but on a Friday the 13th, but 13 also resembles the pieces of Osiris. We will go to this also later, maybe. Yeah, now that will never end this session. I have a sneaking suspicion. Osiris. You go any nitty-gritty here. Osiris, 13 parts. What? Osiris, boots. Yeah. So what you see, that's the Osiris mythos. Your Osiris then being portrayed in light green. Haha, the sorcerer, and the one in the underworld. Yeah. So 13 parts have been found. And he should be resurrected, but he could not, Isis could not find his fellows, and therefore it's bad luck with the 13. Okay. There's a Dutch guy called Johan van Oldenbarneveld who founded the Dutch East India Corporation, the multinational colonization of Indonesia and the Atlantic slave trade. To read anything. It was very interesting when days before I was following a comment of a reader here. The name is Samuel Lawless, who says, what did the Jesuits do in China, first establishing themselves in Macau in 1560s? Sure, that's where Bruce Lee Paradise is, and you can see there is already. So 1560s, of course, there is in Macau the Bruce Lee Paradise, and of course, you know, it's just a coincidence. Yeah, because China was appreciating the Jesuits because of their knowledge of science and arts. One of his founding fathers of the Jesuits, Saint Francis Xavier, died by attempting to enter China in 1552. They established themselves firmly in China after many attempts, firstly in Macau and then in Guangdong in 1582. They contributed through their educational activities and significantly through separate national Jesuit missions. Yeah, after the 1911, so 9/11 revolution, the now highly institutionalized Jesuit enterprise was challenged and eventually destroyed by the first national revolution, then the communist one. The history of the Jesuit missions in China is, of course, very interesting, but you can speak hours about that. And I was just very, very pleased about this this comment here. So this is the article from Brill, Historiography of the Jesuits in China. There was a second and successful attempt by Matteo Ricci to establish a residence in Beijing, which is the capital city of China. I have to go through this, which is very interesting because there are Ricci institutes in Taipei, Paris, San Francisco and Macau. This was really keeping my interest because San Francisco, isn't that the town where Chinatown was, where Bruce Lee had been born, where the Chinese cinema is and all the stuff? Interesting. However, the Ricci institutes in Taipei, Paris, San Francisco, Macau have to a large extent assumed a semi-official role in publishing on the Jesuit mission in China, just as their predecessors in Shanghai did in their famous sinological series, the Varietés Sinologiques. The Ricci Institutes, named after the sinologist Matteo Ricci, are research and publication centers directly towards the study of Chinese ancient and modern cultures, as well as towards the intercultural dialogue between the Chinese world and the other spiritual traditions in the world. So you see, these are just the spiritual headquarters, Ricci Institute, to promote the establishment of connections between these countries and the Jesuits. Any discussion of the China mission of the Jesuit order must begin with a man who never got to China but died trying to, Saint-Francois Xavier. And there's a claim that the Jesuits gave up on China for 40 years. Of course, 40 years, it's very interesting. 40 years Moses led the Israelites through the desert. Interesting. And I was drawn, I know that we will come down to the Secret Service in no way, but you see that when the Secret Service also is controlled by the Jesuits, then we are just, I'm sorry that might sound a little bit confused, but I hope you see and you get the picture in the later. Until Pietro Tacci Venturi, S.J., Jesuit, published Ricci's original manuscripts together with Ricci's letter in 1911, once again the start of this war, 1911, to mark the third centenary of Ricci's death, the views of the virtual founder of the Jesuit missions in China have been represented or rather misrepresented by the Trigord Latin version, whatever that is, but it's not that interesting. Interesting is the following, that Pietro Tacci Venturi was a Jesuit priest and historian who served as the unofficial liaison between Benito Mussolini, the fascist leader from Italy, from 1922 to 1943, and Pope Pius XI and Pius XII. He was one of the architects of the 1929 Lateran Treaty, which ended the Roman question and recognized the sovereignty of the Vatican City. And that's what I highly suggest, is that in 2029 there will be a big thing coming up as a celebration of the 100th year of the official sovereignty of Vatican State. Mark my words, I would not be surprised if there's something coming down on us.
February 11, 1929. Yep.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Yep, that's right.
According to Susan Zuccotti, Venturi had an uncanny ability to gain access where more official papal diplomats could not. Venturi had no official rank in the church to match his extraordinary influence and was known in Vatican circles as the Man in Black. The Galaxy Defender. And what a coincidence, and it is a story, and it is a session of coincidences. It's just a coincidence that Venturi was the confessor to Benito Mussolini, whom he befriended before his rise to power. Sure. Huh? It is just a coincidence. Nothing to see here, because, of course, the Jesuits there, the Man in Black, who are just owned for your own protection, being protected here against aliens. Yeah, they will protect you against aliens coming down in the UFO and crushing a globe. Yeah, you see, you got all these distractions here with the globe, distraction with the UFO, and the Man in Black are not there to protect you. It's every time what Brad showed you in Isaiah 5:20. It's the other way around. Evil is good, good is evil. Doesn't it remind you on George Orwell 1984? A bit, huh? So, with aliens, the globe, and the UFO, and their special weapons, that does remind me of Nikola Tesla. Who knows what kind of technology the American army or whomsoever is hiding from you. Yeah, remember 9/11, where the buildings have crashed down? Nobody can really that much explain how it happened. And they burned for days? Oh, strange.
That's a good point, Michael. Very, very good point.
So they can do holograms, they can create any kind of UFOs and all the stuff, and this is just... you will see, I think, later why I came up with that, because it's just so hilarious when you know about that one book of the Global Vatican. Yeah, that all roads lead to Rome, also in this case of secret services, secret societies.
Yeah, Michael, you know, I thought, since you're mentioning 9/11, I had one of our clients for some work I did last week or the week before. We were talking about, you know, kind of the whole awakening. I was telling him about, you know, when I really started opening up my eyes to the whole political monstrosity of a lie that we live in. I had, make a long story short, basically, you know, watching this well, I suppose it's more of a documentary, I guess, than a movie. You know, this Loose Change movie. Have you ever seen it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that kind of really got my attention. One of my musician friends actually recommended I watch that movie, and I just could not believe it at the moment. And then it just took me a long time. And, you know, that's kind of how things work, is the first reaction to something of that nature, you know, you have to admit that you've been duped. You've been hoodwinked. We've all been hoodwinked. And once you get past that and you start looking at, well, what's really behind this, then you start learning some tough lessons. That's what I call a tough lesson, is when you admit that, yes, I've been hoodwinked my entire life, and it's time to start really looking at this differently. But anyway, when he mentioned the whole September 11th attacks, I started asking him, well, what do you think as far as, you know, were there planes, were there no planes? Because let's be honest with each other, we were not there. We rely on the media to tell us the story and paint the picture for us. And we know that they were really manipulating a lot of things. So I am very skeptical about even planes being involved.
Yeah, you have to question everything. You have to question everything. Yeah, I
mean, sure, we're told that, but you know what happened at the Pentagon? I mean, that's probably a missile, if you ask me. But hey, a warhead.
Technology-wise, it is not possible to fly for a Boeing that low. Yeah, so it's impossible that it is. And also that was the start of my research. Then, when this French website came up, Hunt the Boeing.
Yes, right.
When somebody says, okay, this is circular holes, where are the wings, where are the engines? Exactly.
And that's the thing, you know, you don't find anything but a couple little tiny pieces of debris out there in the front lawn of the Pentagon. I mean, that's just one instance, right? There are many other instances on 9/11 you can sit and question. Like, where's the planes that hit the buildings in the Twin Trade Towers? There's no debris there. Did they just magically, you know, go right into the building? There's no, you know, it's just.
I think the best one is the Pentagon, because really you see that you can't imagine that really somebody can believe it, that the Pentagon, who has all means to their disposal, they don't have any high rate cameras. But they're just displaying you some kind of a slow motion of something grainy. Yeah, you see that.
Well, let's get this right. We're not trying to, you know, say that there were no planes involved in 9/11. No, what we're trying to say is that it's impossible to prove it one way or the other, given the evidence that we have. I mean, sure, there was an engine that flew out the trade. There were several engines maybe that fell into the New York.
I think I don't want to go into a 9/11 because
I mean, it is such a quagmire, this thing.
You see, I don't want to go into this because I have not prepared myself to show you all this stuff is on another computer. But
I'm just saying that, Michael, you know, for everyone's sake, that, you know, once you really delve into big questions like this, you know, then you start really recognizing that, a lot of different things could have happened, and we have no way of proving one way or another because we weren't there. We didn't witness it, did we?
Yeah.
We didn't.
World Trade Center, Wu-Tang Clan, yeah, sure. No. Yeah, you see, that's the problem, that people do not know that these were just 2 towers, and it is just a temple with 2 towers. The the flaws that do match the telematic religion of Crowley symbolism, and they're just making one World Trade Center for the one world religion. And where to start? I just want to really get back to the nitty-gritty here, because you will be bombarded with so many dates and so many stuff. And Brad is absolutely correct in his assumption that there is not only fishy, but this is just media manipulation on a broad scale.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There we go. And nothing's changed since then. That's the point.
No.
It's
and
just
the Jesuits, they are so keen in inventions, and they were the ones who were promoting this magic lantern, this television, this vision from far away. With all their scientists, and they had all the means and the money to their disposal, and they just have conquered China in an educational kind of way with their Studio Ratiorum.
Yeah. Oh, they've totally conquered the world with it.
Yes.
They've
so
conquered the world.
Get them when they're young, and while they're young. Yeah. So I'm just skipping it here because otherwise we will never get down to the things. But thanks so much, Samuel Lawless, for that interesting article. So in 1600s, when that we are in China at the moment, 1600s, when the John Dee was present and was just doing this spy stuff, the Jesuits gradually gain influence during the Ming Dynasty with Matteo Ricci. Yeah, Jesuit Joachim Bouvet teaches divination knowledge of the I Ching to William Leibniz. And this is the Forbidden City. This is the inner district of Beijing. Yeah, here Mao Zedong times. 1839, the British Empire and the Jesuits conquer India and China through the Opium Wars. Opium is traded by the Sassoon family in Skull and Bones, like Russell, to use to demoralize the Chinese population, make them addicted.
Isn't that something?
1860, Hong Kong Island becomes part of the British Empire. Opium is legalized. Haha, why? You might ask, huh? It makes money. And also Hong Kong as a trading port. Remember fragrant harbor. Yeah, so it's just a immense important location for trade, for the ocean and for America. Yeah, Hong Kong to San Francisco. I don't want to know how many drugs have been transported from Hong Kong to San Francisco. Yeah, the Jesuits' missions are then replaced 1903 by the foreign missions from Paris. Mission meaning ascending abroad as an agent, originally from Jesuits. So it is just to deceive the people with drugs in China and making money with it. Yeah, you see, you're spreading propaganda in their minds with the educational system. You're spreading then entertainment to them, and then you're spreading enjoyment and excitement with all the drugs, and you're profiting from it. My, what a world. Yeah, everybody is doing works with the Jesuits who wants to make it big, like Catherine the Great, which was not a Russian but a German, yeah, and was ruling then Russia, had worked with the Jesuits. Yeah, that's, I don't want to go into this again. Agenda 201, 201 Jesuits have been officially been hidden with from Catherine the Great during their suppression. My, what a world. Yeah, so then Tsarist Alexander has been poisoned. Like Napoleon is being poisoned. First Opium War 1839. Nicholas I forces orthodoxy on Ukraine. What a coincidence, huh? It's just a coincidence that Ukraine is now on war with Russia, at least officially. Yeah, I have had a personal account from one of my so-called friends. He has business ties with a female journalist who recently, maybe 6 weeks ago, visited Ukraine, and she had to report for a German newspaper for that, and she said, yeah, we were forced in that hospital, which had been officially been bombed by the Russians, but that hospital we were only ordered and allowed to take several rooms and several pictures, nothing else, and that hospital was out of order for years, but the headline was is that Russia has bombarded an Ukrainian hospital. So much for the truth and so much for all the knowledge, all the information that they are hiding from you. So the official headline in the newspaper reads, Russia bombarding Ukrainian hospital. Yeah, but that Ukrainian hospital was not functioning for years. Karl Marx, all these Jesuitically trained people, Second Opium War, 1856 to 1860. The second major conflict in the Opium Wars, which were fought over the right to import opium to China. You see, that's all about the money here. It's all about the money. Fought over the right to import opium to China. This is the big money machine. It's nothing else. It's a big money machine. Second defeat for the Chinese people, Qing Dynasty. Yeah, and then Hong Kong, as the strategic important harbor, was being taken over by Great Britain. Among other things, the Convention of Peking, or Beijing, ceded the Kowloon Peninsula, that's part of Hong Kong, to the British as part of Hong Kong. The execution of the Paris Foreign Mission Society missionary Auguste Chapdelaine was the official cause of the French involvement in the Second Opium War. Yeah. My. What a coincidence. What a coincidence when you see that what ties are between the church and the state. Now here we're talking about the French. Yeah? Why should they care about the execution of a foreign missionary? Oh, they have killed a missionary. They have killed a priest. Now we're going to war. Huh? Really? His death was reported as the head of the French mission in Hong Kong on the 12th of July. The charge d'affaires de Cossy in Marceau, and etc., etc., etc. Yeah? Preaching Christianity. No, preaching Catholicism.
Mm-hmm.
It's all a big lie. It's all a big lie. So let's go into this here. The East India Company. 250,000 soldiers used by the British Empire in alliance with the Jesuits to conquer India through tea, slave and opium trade. Founded in 1600. 1600, being the around that guy, that number of John Dee and installing the Secret Service. Headquarters, City of London, with bankers as descendants of the Knights Templar, as you might see also in the sigil here or in the flag of the East India Company. My. Francis Drake has explored the oceans and continents for the British Empire controlled by the English Cecil family, and the Jesuits had already sent missionaries. Yeah. We just make a short cut here. Just we type in Jesuit on the side. Just why don't we type in Jesuits? And you see Jesuits, stakeholders, Jesuits has sent missionaries, Jesuit controlled James II, House of Hanover, Jesuits and British Empire work together to monopolize the drug trade and to have a global empire. Yeah. The Jesuit Order 1773 was suppressed by Pope Clement IX as a scapegoat for American insurgency, and just close enough to the fact of the 1776, what is it, the Declaration of Independence, I think it was, Brett?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, correct. Yeah, and then don't forget that the May 1st established the Bavarian Illuminati before before the Declaration of Independence.
1844, Jesuits built St. Joseph College in India. Yeah, so that's just...
So yeah. Michael, I always think of, like, you know how in the United States they celebrate the dollar, you see it printed all over the place, and then you see the pyramid. And pyramid is nothing more than a firewall. They just want to keep you away from studying anything before 1776. Like, this is some act of God to have, United States, a God-fearing country. Yeah, well, they conquered, the Catholics conquered the true Bible-believing peoples to represent them. So you have a representative form of government. In other words, a representative form of bribery.
Mm-hmm.
They bribed us.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we're living, basically, the United States is blood-bought land of the Native Americans. We slaughtered all the Native Americans. We're living with, what can we say? I mean, it's the same thing that happened in Australia, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's a nasty bit of history, and people don't want to look, beyond 1776 and see what really, what was happening before then. So I think of it as a way of, controlling information again. So, really that's what we're seeing on YouTube and other platforms now is if you dare speak anything against the medical establishment, you will lose your accounts. If you dare to speak anything about, true homeopathic therapies, you will lose your accounts. If you dare to question what Anthony Fauci has put forward, you will lose your accounts. It's absurd. That's what's happened. You're no longer able to have any opinion about it. You have to conform or be eliminated.
Mm-hmm.
As far as your information, as far as your social media. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the world we live in. Yeah.
Yeah, and they have prepared for that for centuries. Yeah, they had to take over all these countries. They had to take over the education system. They had to take over the science. And now we see the fruits of it. Yeah?
Oh, yeah. 1875, Blavatsky founds the Theosophical Society in New York in November, a month after the birth of Aleister Crowley. Interesting. Other co-founders were Henry Steele Olcott, William Quan Judge, and 16 others. Like the Fabian Society, the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn, the Society for Psychological Research, founded in the same era, the aim of the Theosophical Society was to invent the New Age Church and move towards a Luciferian world religion.
Mm-hmm.
I see you have that in blue, Michael.
Yeah, because also that's not the entire truth. There's much to it. We will come to this quite soon or just later. As I told you, there's so much information everywhere, so that you really see that these are just not only private interests. There's much more behind it. But
well, what's interesting? I had mentioned this to someone in my family about Blavatsky, and it's rather interesting when someone who has been very well trained in the establishment takes a look at this. And what is this? Yeah. Very interesting, Michael. I'm looking forward to it.
Mm. Okay.
'80s, yes, 1890s.
Mm-hmm. Blavatsky, 1888. Blavatsky established a new headquarters in India and raised his so-called secret doctrine mythology about Atlantis and a race of dragon people. Methods of dissociation through yoga are developed and taught to Western initiates.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. 1900, Frank Baum writes The Wonderful Wizard of Oz, of also of dissociation, the symbolism, but that's not a big deal. 1903, Rasputin visits St. Petersburg and gets influence on the Tsarist. 1903, Jesuit Mark Siambeau founds Aurora University. The Jesuits' missions are replaced by MEP, the Paris Foreign Missions. So it's another cover then.
Oh, yeah. So, Michael, for 1888, the Blavatsky quote, try 1 Timothy chapter 4, verse 1. Here we go. Now the Spirit speaketh expressly that in the latter times some shall depart from the faith, giving heed to seducing spirits and doctrines of devils. What is that? The secret doctrine? Oh,
it's all
and
secret.
what is she speaking of?
So compare the secret doctrines with secret services. They all have something to hide. Which
Then, well, they have something in common, don't they?
Striving for world domination, for a Luciferian one-world religion. And so they have to get rid of all this real truth, and they just have to install their lie as a kind of a truth. That George Orwell.
So, we install the mythology. And that's exactly what's happening today, Michael. It's all about mythology. So they turned it around. So now the myth is placed on the Christians instead of, the world system. The world system is God Almighty today. It's all been flipped around. Woe unto them that call evil good and good evil.
Yeah, and all this Theosophical Society, Rudolf Steiner published Lucid Prognosis magazine in the start of the Aeon of Horus. 1904 is a crucial year because it starts what is it in English?
Wow, Lucifer Gnosis magazine. Really?
Yeah, it's the start of the Aeon of Horus been seen. Yeah, so 1904 is the starting point. It's very interesting.
How much more in your face can you get?
Just look at this. First Russian Revolution, 1905. Sergei Witte is the first cousin of Helena Blavatsky, becomes Prime Minister of Russia under Nicholas II. I never knew this. So some of them are just working undercover, because they are related to very high-ranking politicians or people behind the scene. Annie Besant becomes president of the Theosophical Society, promotes Jidda Krishnamurti. That's the role model for Bruce Lee. The truth has no path, that is his quote. As the Maitreya, the world teacher. Yeah, the Maitreya, the world teacher. This is one world religion and Christ's savior.
Antichrist savior, actually.
Yeah, the Fabian Society published a New Age magazine with Theosophists and all the stuff, which is a friend of Aleister Crowley and Gurdjieff and all these people. It's much too much.
Well, it makes a lot of sense, Michael, because they're simply just replacing the truth with a lie. That's what they're doing.
Yeah, but you can't separate one thing from another. That's the interesting part, which led me to get on Bruce Lee's tracks. Yeah, you see, 1911. Yes, all these dates, all the numerical values here, the revolution, the end of the Qing dynasty, the 13th of the Dalai Lama. All these people are being indoctrinated and being puppets for just a one world religion and one world system, or the beast system. Yeah, so that's what's interesting here. 1917, after the February Revolution in Russia, Vladimir Lenin's friends Maxim Gorky and execution of 1,200 Orthodox priests. 1918, Rudolf von Sebettenborg founds the Thule Society, which is the esoteric backbone to the Hitler Aryan race and super race and all the stuff. Yeah, so all this stuff in Bavaria with the swastika symbol, all this stuff is coming from Theosophy, and the swastika being seen as a black sun and all the stuff. This is all just being planned, carefully planned.
It is, right.
1919, Russian...
And Rudolf von Settenborg, or how do you say it?
Rudolf von Sebottenborg, he's the official founder of the Thule Society,
Never heard of him before.
Yeah, that's the problem with it, You see, the problem actually is that these are just, Rudolf von means Rudolf of Sebottenborg, this is just lower nobility.
I see, okay.
Yeah. He was very, 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 very had much money, and of course, in Munich. Yeah, so Munich is the spiritual center of the Roman Catholic Church in Germany. That's Munich, where everything has started.
Oh, Munich. Okay.
Yeah. It's he was busy with Helena Blavatsky. You see, that's all this same stuff is happening in different countries in a different time. But this is just about the Jewish conspiracy, world conspiracy, and this is all, of course, the same BS, but carefully being implanted in every country. What serves them the best? 1919, right. Russian Revolution in St. Petersburg, which is the head of the Jesuits, St. Petersburg, and the Tsarist, Catherine the Great, remember? 1922, Alice Bailey founds the Lucifer Trust, later Lucy's Trust, because it would be too obvious. 1924, Freemason Christmas Humphreys founds the Buddhist Society. Humphreys founded the London Buddhist Lodge. After the Buddhist Society, the impetus came from several theosophists. Yeah, sure. Sure it came. Christmas Humphreys. Yeah, that's the name. Christmas. My. I'm not wondering. You see, they're even founding Buddhist societies. So everything but real Christianity.
Sure. Yeah. Of course, you're replacing the truth with a lie.
Serge Obolensky, whose first wife was related to Blavatsky, works for U.S. Secret Service OSS. You have it all over the place. All over the place. Yeah, and there's a certain Rothschild who... Kim Philby, a spy here, works with Flora Solomon Rothschild, mother of the founder of Amnesty International. Yeah, so they don't care where you engage. Yeah, they run the entire show. Yeah, also the opposition. It's also Amnesty International is Rothschild. So where do you start? You see all these secret societies, they just serve this one world religion, this beast system. That's why they have to do it in secret. Unless everything is set up and then they can put it out as a law. And then it would be against the first commandment of God. And that's the point where real Christians then have to say, we're getting out of there. So this is just a brief overview. Stepping back, you see 2001, the Twin Towers ritual and all the stuff, I think that's just common knowledge here. Back to Secret Service then. 1887, members of the Rosicrucian Society of England founding the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn. Samuel Mathers is married to the sister of Henry Bergson of the Society for Psychical Research. The Cecils is a British dynasty linked to Kennedy and all the influential people. Of course, you can smell where they all have their richdom from and all the stuff. Richard's son, William Cecil, was Secretary of State, Lord High Treasurer, and Lord Privy Seal of Protestant Queen Elizabeth I. Francis Walsingham became the first spy master of the British Secret Service at war with the Jesuits who were trying to murder Elizabeth. Yeah, and Francis Bacon was the son of the daughter of Anthony Cook, and then you have a connection to Shakespeare, most likely as well. The Cecils hired John Dee as an occultist. He developed a cryptographic communication system, Secret Code, with Edward Kelly, a Nokian system. Dee visited Rudolf II Habsburg of Bohemia, Order of the Golden Fleece, and other Rosicrucians like Wilhelm Rosenberg. Let's just follow this path. If it is correct, then Robert Cecil selects or just introduces Aleister Crowley to become the new John Dee. British.
That's a really revealing statement, Michael. Robert Cecil selects Aleister Crowley. Who is Robert Cecil again?
Cecil is a British dynasty founded by Richard Cecil of Berkeley, member of the court of King of England Henry VIII Tudor.
Henry VIII, Order of the Golden Fleece. Order of the Golden Fleece. Where have I heard that before?
Yeah, separated the Church of England from the Church of Rome, introduced Protestantism, both under control of the God program. This is an error of that page here, because that page has been run by a very clever man or organization, but not by Bible-believing Christians. Order of the Fleece is just
obviously.
It's the
Doesn't
Greek
know
legend.
what real Protestantism is.
Yes, they
read,
see.
Okay.
Yeah, they
if
see
you
Martin
really want
Luther.
to know what real Protestantism is, Michael, you have to read The History of Protestantism by James Aiken Wiley, which is like the encyclopedia on Protestantism.
Yeah, we have to be very careful. I'm just doing repetition here like a parrot at the moment. I hope that every information is correct here, but it's just a source here which I would like to base some research upon. So the Order of the Golden Fleece.
My channel, Michael, of course, is I'm trying to devote more time. I haven't done. I apologize, dear listeners, right now. I try and devote more time to the restoration of true Protestantism, because it's something I have real faith in. So anything that comes against that I see in the script, Michael, I'm going to speak up.
We will focus more on the Bible in the future. That's just my intent. I have to get the information out that we have highly underestimated all these societies and secret societies, because they're all mingled together with secret societies and secret services. Yes. And there is a prime example would be here Aleister Crowley, because we have learned that Helena Blavatsky is already been involved in the Russian premier and all the stuff, so she is most likely also an agent. And Aleister Crowley, which is not his birth name, he was at least an occultist, and most likely he was selected.
Well, wait now, what does it say in the Book of Revelation now about the bottomless pit? I think these people that the Cecils and all these guys are directly in line to promote the bottomless pit. I mean, that's what's happening. I mean, this is what the money is being spent on even today, is to bring hell on earth.
Yeah, can you get very healthy?
To make this a living hell.
Can you get very healthy when you're a real Protestant? Do you focus on mammon?
No, just the opposite.
Yeah.
In ultimate form, you focus on the spirit, right? The spirit.
You know what I think is these families, these people in high positions, these nobilities and all the stuff. Yeah, they just saw Protestantism as the new vehicle to make more money. Yeah, because that's what the people wanted.
Exactly, they had to. They had no choice.
They had to adjust. To the zeitgeist.
This is the same way it is today, but the problem today is that no one knows what real Protestantism is anymore. As far as I see it, Michael. I don't know how you see it, but we just don't know. We haven't been instructed in the Bible.
I think that most likely it is that many of these hierarchical people or the elite, they just thought that, okay, we can now get rid of the Pope, and then we can have even more possession. When we just jump on the train of Protestantism.
That's
right. And that's my humble opinion.
When you get really up there, you recognize that no, we can't get rid of the Pope. We have to have it because it's the way that the harlot, the mother of all, what can we say? The mother of all harlots. Yeah, they have to work this way. They have no choice. Do they? Do they have a choice? I don't think so.
You see, secret societies, secret agents, and secret services, they have one thing in common, which is a secret. And Jesus Christ did nothing in secret. So that means that they are all opposite of Christ.
Sure.
They're all opposite of Christ. So let's imagine that it's all one and the same. Because then it gets really interesting, I hope. So, Crowley as a prime example, which combines all...
John, Michael, just quickly, just so people know for a fact.
6 hours.
It's John 18:20. Jesus answered him, I spake openly to the world. I never taught in the synagogue, or I ever taught in the synagogue, I ever taught in the synagogue and in the temple, whither the Jews always resort. And in secret I have said nothing.
So,
right?
they're all opposite of Jesus Christ. So, then let's get on the track here. Aleister Crowley, once and for all. I've seen him as an occultist and a Satanist, and I always said that, and we did all the Satanic Media Agenda stuff and all the stuff. But let's do it as a same or a similar way as we did in Christopher Lee. Let's say that all these people are just actors on a chessboard. So that would take Aleister Crowley as somebody who was very, very, very rich from his parents. He was not a lowlife or so. Maybe he was just only playing a role, so that he was not his major profession. He was being an occultist, of course, but at the same time he has to make some money, and he was just getting together with everybody, and he was traveling a lot. Let's put it this way. He was maybe playing the role of the Aeon of Horus. Remember, 1904 being the start point. He was naming himself as the 666, the great beast, because he was Catholic raised and all the stuff. And now I'm not going into any nitty-gritty. IHS also is not Isis Horus Set, but has another meaning. He was born in Warwickshire like William Shakespeare. Yeah. Whose play The Tempest, or The Storm, was based on John Dee, so Prospero in Tempest is like John Dee and played an important role in Frederick's and Elizabeth Stuart's Rosicrucian wedding. He became, in 1819, he became a member already of the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn. Don't tell me that it was his own intention. Don't tell me that it was his own intention. He was 15. Oh, sorry. I made a mistake. In the 1890s. Sorry. I mixed it up. In the 1890s, so at a very young age, he became a member of the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn, the Club of Occultists and Masons. So the Protestant arm of the Jesuits was linked to the Society of Psychical Research. Like John Dee, he was a secret agent of the Cecils who used occultism as a cover, an eccentric image of provocateur to create a mysterious and iconic image and to distract the people. That's, in my humble opinion, the very same with Anton LaVey, who is just founding a church of Satan on the Walpurgisnacht, and just running around in a costume with devil's horn. Sorry, these are just provocateurs. And I don't think that he has written that Satanic Bible on his account. I don't think so. According to the legend, after seeing a stele in the Bulaq Museum in Egypt, stele number 666, what a coincidence, and if that is true, later called the stele of revealing, Crowley transcribes the Book of the Law under influence of an entity called Aiwas, his holy guardian angel. You see, we are speaking about a counterfeit satanic religion here. Or one word, Luciferian religion on that regard. The main law propagated in the text is the law, do what thou wilt. So there are no godly 10 commandments anymore. And then you see clearly what kind of religion that is. Thelema has a numerical value of 93, a solar number, which means that's also flight 93, 9/11. And this is where it all gets connected then in the end. Yeah, in magic rituals, they summon 4 gods, Babylon, Nui, Hadid, and Therion, instead of the 4 elements and 4 archangels. So Babylon is their name of Babylon. So it's just the other way around. It's just another name for the same thing. 1912. Book of Lies, Book 4, written in Naples, the 4 magical creatures of the cardinal signs Man, Lion, Bull, Eagle, also being present in The Wizard of Oz. But all these magical creatures, so-called magical creatures, man, lion, bull, eagle, have also been symbolical for the New Testament. The eagle is Matthew, and this is, of course, not a Christianity. Yeah, Matthew is not an eagle, but a follower of Jesus Christ. 1913, he writes the hymn to Pan, 1930 to Saturn, in Invents the Gnostic Mass. That is the ritual, the hymn to Pan, my humble opinion, with the Twin Towers, because it's the same handheld about the 2 towers. 1915, as a British MI6 agent, military intelligence, he plays a role in the sinking of the ship RMS Lusitania, a false flag attempt to start a war with Germany. And then people are just telling us then, oh yeah, but maybe he did not have a role in the Secret Service in the Second World War. And my comment is, once in, always in. Once you are in that circle, and once that you have secret knowledge and knowledge of secrets of them, you can't get out. Unless you die, of course, but you can't get out. So when you are a secret agent in the First World War, you always have secrets, and so therefore I suggest that he is also a Secret Service agent later on. 1970, like John Dee was the magician, or Prospero in Shakespeare's Tempest, who united the Brunswick Stuart bloodlines to create the Moonchild, or the magical child. Crowley is the prophet who writes the novel Moonchild, or the Butterfly Net, manual to create a monarch butterfly mind control slave, announcing the marriage of Charles Mountbatten and Diana Spencer Churchill, the modern moon goddess in pop culture, resulting in the birth of Antichrist figure Prince William, born at the cusp of Cancer, ruled by the moon. In that novel, there are two lodges in the Moonchild novel, a Black Lodge and a White Lodge. Welcome the hidden meaning of David Lynch's Twin Peaks, where I always said and always suggested that there are more things to come, and also based upon Crowleyan Satanism and Crowley magic, or occultism, or what else, or lies. Yeah, with Roman goddesses, and this time not a black-white pattern, but serpentines, and there's so much symbolism here. Black-red scheme, of course. Yeah. And then he performed the Amalantra, the Alma Dark Mother, which is the tunnel where Diana Spencer or Lady D found her death in Paris. Sex magic rituals, apparently, I don't know if that is correctly. And he made a drawing of the entity they contacted called Lamb, which is the same as an alien. Yeah, this is this is misinterpreted, I think, because that entire scam about the UFOs and all the stuff, many people think, yeah, the Germans, they did invent some UFO flying saucers and they have discovered some in Roswell. No, I think there's much more to it. I think you don't have to. You have to mix up Nikola Tesla and Aleister Crowley to get to the nitty-gritty of it, because that happened quite when after Aleister Crowley died. So that is very interesting, in my humble opinion. But I did not made any extensive research on that. But Lam is a Tibetan word for way or path, yeah, you see, the way of the dragon, and Lama is he who goeth, the specific title of the gods in Egypt, the treader of the path. But it gets worse. Nikola Tesla was a Serbian-American mason, scientist and inventor who did research on electricity, and he was a friend of Mark Twain, also Society of Psychic Research, and also Freemason, and he had a rivalry with Albert Einstein, Mr. Tesla, also a Freemason. My. So, to get the light of the spotlight away from Nikola Tesla, Elon Musk has decided, or people who are actually ruling Elon Musk have decided, that Elon Musk has to take on the name of Tesla so that everybody thinks, oh, Tesla, yeah, these are the cars, and nobody thinks about the inventor. That's the God where the Elon Musk is trusting. That's the God without any copyright. Huh? Mm-hmm. So, 1922, Crowley moves to Sicily and lives in the Abbey of Thelema, a temple of his do-what-thou-wilt philosophy. His diary of the drug fiend, so Crowley was a user of heroin, which is the theme of Enter the Dragon. It's about a heroin island, a blueprint for the CIA counterculture of hedonistic rock and roll icons, like Jim Morrison, with his father was the one of the Gulf of Tonkin incident, which officially started the Vietnam War. Sid Vicious, Kurt Cobain, Nirvana, the founding of the left-wing church. 1936, Equinox of the Gods describes the events of writing of the Book of the Law. 1939, 8 lectures on yoga, start of the yoga New Age trend, but we have already learned that Blavatsky did promote it 50 years earlier. So, therefore, Crowley is already in one line with Theosophy and one line with the Blavatsky secret doctrine. I think that's just another color of. And who's then been taken over from Crowley, for the United States at least, is the rocket so-called scientist and of course Satanist, so-called Jack Parsons, is leading the Order of Templi Orientis Agape Lodge from 1942 in Los Angeles. Nuclear tests of Manhattan Project, the first atomic bomb, so to speak, Portal-like a la Mantra, working in Manhattan with Robert Oppenheimer. They are just claiming they are pagan goddess also. 1946, Parsons and Hubbard founded Scientology cult, performed Babylon workings in the Mojave Desert in California with his red-headed Scarlet Woman Marjorie Cameron. Crowley dies in December the 1st, 1947, which is in the same year when they found that Roswell incident with the flying saucers, and an entity is very much alike to Lam of Aleister Crowley. And therefore I said, oh, 1947, highly interesting, huh? 1954. Ian Fleming, himself also secret agent in this James Bond, which is has the same symbolism, 007, or Tubarkane for the Masonic stuff, novels, invents the character Le Chiffre, which is Le Chiffre, Lucifer, based also on Crowley. Kinsey, this sex maniac, also a Crowleyan follower. MI6 creates Project Swinging London. Therefore, Crowley is depicted on a famous cover of the Beatles album Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Heart Club Band, left corner, high above, Aleister Crowley, the Bald Man, with Marilyn Monroe, Carl Jung, Bob Dylan, Mae West, the Beast as icon of the New Age. The pepper on the Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Heart Club Bands refers to the Devil's Pepper Rosemary used in Rosemary's Baby, released a year later by no one else but the husband of Sharon Tate. And that's the first big hint here, that is all an agenda. When the Beatles are referring to Sgt. Pepper or Pepper of Rosemary's Baby 1 year later, then everything is interconnected. Yeah. From my humble opinion, this is a proof of foreknowledge here, that this is an agenda. Because Polanski makes Rosemary's Baby based on Crowley's Moonshine in 1968. 1 year later.
That's so funny, Michael, because his name's Roman.
Yeah.
I mean, how much more obvious?
It's his own choice. Yeah, it was his own choice.
When people say, "What's that?"
It was his own choice.
His name.
Yeah, his name was Liebling, like darling. Liebling.
You're right. I forgot.
So the Crowley follower Kenneth Engler is founded by Jesuit J.P. Getty. Yeah, J.P. Getty, you know that guy, huh? J.P. Getty Pictures and all the stuff, to make Lucifer Rising, that movie, yeah, with the Crowleyan mirror, Crowley appearing in a picture with the Stele of Revelation. Yeah, so Jesuit J.P. Getty is also follower of Crowley, or promotion of Crowleyan Age of Horus and all the stuff. And when you know then that Crowley officially worked for the British intelligence or Secret Service, yeah, and you got it now all over the place.
There you go.
Theosophical Society.
007 movies about British intelligence.
British intelligence, MI5, MI6, in one line with the CIA, in one line with the Jesuits, in one line with the Masons, in one line with Theosophical Society. Everything is working together to create the illusion for the people out there. It must be the truth because everybody is promoting it. Except us.
Yeah, right. Breaking it down, yeah.
Yeah.
Break down the graven image.
Yeah.
The images and idols, yeah.
1982, Diana, Lady D, yeah, presents her moonshot William in the same dress as Rosemary's Baby.
Yeah.
Yeah. Grace Kelly dies in a car crash in south of France, 14th of September, date of car crash, Isadora Duncan, 55 years later. Also date of death, husband Jane Mansfield, 15 years after the crash of Mansfield, 15 years before the crash, Diana. So it's just, they are hooked on numbers. Yeah. Twin Towers rituals with Skull and Bones member George W. Bush. It's a secret we can talk about. The 92, flight 92. The tower is hit on the 39th floor, the most important number in Thelema, because numerically Thelema is 93. The towers represented 2 Masonic pillars in the horns of Pan symbol, the Knight of Pan. So nobody would ever dare to tell you that on the mass media, because all the peoples who are watching the mass media would say this man is a lunatic. Yeah, because they would say that the truth is the lie, of course. Yeah. So promoting that everybody and every woman and every man is a star. Aleister Crowley is American Idol, British Idol, Indian Idol. Yeah, all with pentagrams. Yeah, everybody wants to become a star. Everybody is in for the Whore of Babylon. And this is just 007, yeah? This is just John Dee. And Ian Fleming was agent of the British Secret Service. This is Aleister Crowley. And they all work together. Yeah? They all work together. It's very interesting because the inventor of the FBI, of course, is called Bonaparte. Charles Bonaparte, descendant of Jesuit and also Jesuit and Freemason Napoleon Bonaparte, organized a Bureau of Investigation. The Theosophical Society and the OTO, Templi Orientis, developed techniques of dissociation through sex magic, yoga, and trauma-based mind control. 1904, Crowley ushers the new era of Horus. 1908, the FBI is formed, pretends to fight organized crime by no one else but Charles Bonaparte. What a coincidence. So it's also been formed by a Jesuit and by a descendant of Freemasons. 1909, founding of MI5 UK and MI6 foreign with that guy. And it goes on and on and on and on and on and on and on. And there are Jesuits even in the Order of the Golden Dawn. 1920, the spread of the Protocols of Elders of Zion to give rise to anti-Semitism in Germany and Russia, which is of course also a false flag, and it's just misinformation. The Council of Foreign Relations is founded. Advertising techniques of Edward Bernays are used in the press in political campaigns to manipulate public opinion or crystallizing public opinion. The book of Edward Bernays. Yeah, there are books of Aleister Crowley. I think the truth is much more subtle than this book. But what I found very interesting is that Aleister Crowley was using cocaine. It's very interesting because he was visiting Sicily in the 1920s. Look at this. It's just a small excerpt here. He occasionally traveled to Palermo, which is in Italy, to visit rent boys and buy supplies, including drugs. His heroin addiction came to dominate his life, and cocaine began to erode his nasal cavity. It's very interesting. This is an alleged letter of Linda Lee, the wife of Bruce Lee, and he says, or she says here, "Thanks to Bev for taking the risk and sending the last shipment to Bruce. Don't worry about Bruce using the C, most likely cocaine. He is not going overboard." It is very interesting when you now know that even Aleister Crowley officially has used the cocaine. It was a sort of a recreational drug then. So very interesting. But it gets worse. Because compare the timeline. The prime minister and the inventor of fascism was Benito Mussolini in Italy. He was prime minister in Italy from the March on Rome in 1922 until his deposition in 1943. Now remember that in Germany, Adolf Hitler did try the same with his march in Munich, but was being arrested. And in his arrestment cell, officially, he wrote his My Fight or My Kampf, which was been most likely written by Bernhard Stempfle, a Jesuit priest, whom they got rid of in the concentration camps in the early 1930s. So much so. But focus on this Mussolini. On the 31st of October Reformation Day, 1922. Following the March of Rome, Mussolini was appointed prime minister by King Victor Emmanuel III, becoming the youngest individual to hold up office at that time, after removing all political opposition through his secret police, secret service again, and so etc., etc. He transformed the nation into a one-party dictatorship. He aspired to create a totalitarian state. In 1929, as Brett told us on the 11th of February, Mussolini signed the Lateran Treaty with the Holy See to establish Vatican City. Remember, Pietro Tacci Venturi was a Jesuit priest and historian who served as the unofficial liaison between Mussolini, the fascist leader, and Popes Pius XI and XII. He was also one of the architects of the Lateran Treaty and was the confessor to Mr. Mussolini. You see, Mussolini was most likely just a puppet. A puppet like Hitler, a puppet like Roosevelt, who was a Freemason, a puppet like Ronald Reagan, a puppet like Stalin, a puppet...
Trump.
A puppet like Mao Zedong. Yeah.
Same thing.
Yeah. Yeah, now look at here at Mr. Crowley. He was in Italy from 20 to 23, which is in exactly the same time when Mussolini was becoming Prime Minister of Italy. What a coincidence! And he has worked in the First World War a few years ago for the British intelligence, so don't tell me that is a coincidence. I don't know what he did there, but maybe he was just on an occasional visit there and he had some other tasks. Because, and now it gets really interesting, if you think that's just far-fetched, it is just a coincidence, then look here, 1933. A cult is created around Adolf Hitler with the advertising methods of Edward Bernays. Crowley meets with Aldous Huxley and Gerald Hamilton in Berlin in 1933. What a coincidence, this man is every time he's there where the action is, huh? In 1930, Crowley moved to Berlin. He decided to fake his own death. Sure, no problem when you are being related to the secret society. He then returned to Berlin, where he reappeared 3 weeks later at the opening as his art exhibition at the Gallery Neumann Nierendorf. He met with famous people like Aldous Huxley and Alfred Adler. Has something to do with psychology, let me guess. After befriending him in January 1932, he took the communist Gerald Hamilton as a lodger through whom he was introduced to many figures with the Berlin far left. It is possible that he was operating as a spy from British intelligence at this time monitoring the communist movement. Once again, I say, my comment, he is always there where the music is, once in, always in. If you look at the timeline of Aleister Crowley, I don't think it's far-fetched to say that he's still in the intelligence business. And some people also claim that his favorite or infamous V for victory sign of Churchill is coming from Aleister Crowley. In the Second World War broke out, Crowley wrote to the Naval Intelligence Division offering his services, but they declined. Yeah, you have to believe it, huh? No, we don't want to win. We don't want to have an experienced guy from the First World War who has ties all over the world. No, we don't want to do. We are just a clean country in the United Kingdom, sure. The Britain's intelligence community there consisted of very, very famous names, like Dennis Wheatley, which has been making the scripts where Christopher Lee then was being seen as an actor, although Christopher Lee's uncle was ambassador also. So he was also a spy. And Roy Dahl, Ian Fleming, who is the author of the James Bond movies, and Maxwell Knight, which served most likely as the M character in the books of James Bond, Ian Fleming. Where do you start? You see, all these people are working together behind the scenes. Aldous Huxley moves to Hollywood. Yeah, sure. J.R.R. Tolkien in Oxford starts writing Lord of the Rings with the help of the Jesuits, by the way. Oh, my
yeah. Isn't that something? You know, when we were growing up, Michael, these were the books they were feeding us.
Feeding you, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you know, you have to learn these books. Here, read this, dear child. You don't have a choice. You have to read this novel.
Yeah. Winston Churchill's SOE, led by Charles Jocelyn Hambro, experiments in Scotland. Yeah, that was where Christopher Lee, our Dracula imposter, was been working for in the Second World War. Yeah, it's all over the place. It's all over the place. George Orwell, Eric Arthur Blair, it's also the same thing. These people have foreknowledge. 1984 is just a construction manual. It is not just a novel. It's a manual.
Right.
Yeah, where to start? Alfred Kinsey founds the Institute for Sex Research, founded by CIA front Rockefeller Foundation. Yeah, where to start? There are so many books about the subject. Yeah, this is a book where I'm quoting from Nicholas Booth, called "The British Intelligence and the Occult in the Second World War," called "Lucifer Rising," which is interesting because it's the same as the title of the movie, Lucifer Rising. Okay. With his usual urbane aplomb, the future creator of James Bond took it all in his stride. As a personal assistant to the sometimes acerbic head of naval intelligence, Fleming was used to considering strange and bizarre operations. This is the author of James Bond. Wartime expediency dictated that no matter how seemingly ridiculous, nothing was beyond their remit. In so many ways, Ian Fleming's meeting with Aleister Crowley lent itself to its later writings with villains defined by their physical repugnance. As several commentators have pointed out, Crowley himself would have made an ideal Bond villain. It was his eyes and their unwavering hypnotic stare that captivated the future thriller writer. Their mesmeric aspect informed the hypnotic stare, to wit, the whites of his eyes, which shows all around the irises, lending something impassioned and doll-like to his glaze of his first ever prototypical villain, Le Chiffre, or Lucifer. So they have even met. And there is a doubt that he was a secret agent in the Second World War? My. So when even Ian Fleming have met with Aleister Crowley, we're talking about two spies. We're talking about spy movies. We're talking about scripts.
Sounds like Man with the Golden Gun all of a sudden.
Yeah. Yeah, here, see, in 1952, Ian Fleming, Naval Intelligence Division, writes his first James Bond novel. 1953, Project MK Ultra, research on drugs, hypnosis, and trauma-based mind control in an all-American university. Same day, James Bond, based on John Dee, Secret Service as heroic and sexy. Ian Fleming, MI6, like Aleister Crowley. Don't you wonder? Kim Philby, 1963, is revealed to be a double agent of the Soviets, a member of spy ring Cambridge 5, and there's, I think, much more to it. Lookout Mountain, Laurel Canyon. Robert Grimston founds the Satanic Process Church of the Last Judgment in the United Kingdom. It's like the Foster White Church of New Revelation in Robert Heinlein's Stranger in the Strange Land. Ties to Ron Hubbard's Scientology. The Babylon workings together with Jack Parsons. Swastika symbol, Thelema of Crowley, promoted by celebrities Mick Jagger, Rolling Stones, and Marian Faithfull Habsburg. Oh yeah, she's not a regular groupie. Where to start? You see, everything is working in progress for the agenda. You have to believe that the quote of William Casey is authentic, because we have proven in our Kennedy session that most likely it is. Would you like to read it once again, Brad?
We'll know our disinformation program is complete when everything the American public believes is false.
Like the moon landing?
Yeah.
So this is an excerpt here, which actually I found later on. So don't be confused by looking at the time and date on that video here, because that we have then recorded later on. So this is called the Hong Kong Connection on the tracks of 007.com. And without any further ado, let us go in. The subtitle is When Ian Fleming's James Bond Meets Bruce Lee's Hong Kong. Huh? Interesting, huh? Could it be that it is a little bit of proof or a backup of our suggestions that nothing happens by coincidence, and that Hong Kong serves a special place in the world as being not only a harbor but also a place of Secret Services intelligence? Let's look it up. This is actually an excerpt from that book. It's called Thrilling Cities, written by Ian Fleming, which is of course the author of 007, but not only this, but also Secret Service agent on himself. So the paperback says, on November the 2nd, armed with a sheaf of visas, one suitcase and my typewriter, I left humdrum London for the thrilling cities of the world. In 1959, that means that is just 3 days before the first James Bond movie came across, 1962, Ian Fleming, the creator of James Bond, was commissioned by the Sunday Times to explore 14 of the world's most exotic cities. 14, huh? Number of Osiris. Fleming saw it all with a thriller writer's eye. From Hong Kong to Honolulu, New York to Naples, he left the bright main streets for the back alleys, abandoning tourist sites in favor of underground haunts and mingling with celebrities, gangsters and geishas. The result is a series of vivid snapshots of mysterious vanished world. Let us make a remark here. This is just to sell the book. I am reminded here of the strange tale of that world-famous actor called Christopher Carandini, who was from Italian nobility and who was also serving as a Secret Service, in my humble opinion. And he was just going all over the world, just collecting passports from intelligence and all this fairy tale. So I think that maybe Mr. who's the name, Ian Fleming, is not only on a private mission here, but let's move on. Take an adventure with the one and only Ian Fleming to Hong Kong, Macau, Tokyo, Honolulu, Los Angeles, Las Vegas, Chicago, New York, Hamburg, Berlin, Vienna, Geneva, Naples and Monte Carlo. You see something? Hong Kong and Macau are the first places here. Isn't that interesting? Could it have something to do with the Jesuits maybe, Brad?
Something to do with the Jesuits?
He's starting in Hong Kong and Macau, and we have learned that Macau was the place where the Jesuits first settled when they were just so-called conquering China. And Hong Kong, of course, is the place where Bruce Lee has been raised and where all this prominent, fragrant harbor is. So my question is, why does he start with Hong Kong and Macau? He could have easily started with Hamburg and Berlin, because that would be much more nearby to England.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And also, when you look at in this line of cities here, there is Los Angeles, yeah, the city of angels, and there is also Berlin and Vienna and Geneva, which means Switzerland. Yeah, so interesting. Naples, Italy, Monte Carlo, interesting cities. So these are not the regular cities like Geneva that anyone would visit. Mm-hmm. Geneva, by the way, is the place in Switzerland, Knights Templars city, or Knights Templars country actually, where they have this CERN, this Hadron Collider, and also the place where that infamous German politician Uwe Baschel has been murdered in the bath tubes. That was Geneva. So I find it very interesting that he was choosing this line of cities here instead of cities that maybe other people would visit, like Beijing in China or Sydney in Australia or Paris. No, not among them.
Right.
Yeah, these are cities here, I think, which are of relevance for him. And don't forget that he's not only a writer, he's a secret agent himself. So he's just also not only making up stories, but he's just modifying stories, and he's from intelligence. Ian Fleming also is related to Christopher Lee. Brad, do you want to comment on that? Yeah.
Really? They do kind of, they must have the same kind of interest then, I guess you would say.
Not only they met each other, but I think, I am quite sure they are related to other. I think that the uncle of Christopher Lee, who has been sold in this world as only an actor,
right,
was the Italian ambassador for Great Britain in the Second World War. And he and Ian Fleming, they were related. I think that Ian Fleming or Christopher Lee, one way or the other, were a distant cousin. Yeah, so they were even related. So no coincidences. And they both are, and he served also, Christopher Lee served Special Operation Executive, a special division of Winston Churchill, Prime Minister of Great Britain in the Second World War. So come on, yeah, so all these people are related. Yeah, but usually everybody says, "Oh yeah, that's Christopher Lee." But yeah, no, that's not his entire name. Yeah, his entire name is Sir Christopher Frank Carandini Lee, so he's from Italian nobility.
He has 4 names. How does that happen?
Yeah, this is his mother's maiden name, actually.
Oh,
yeah. It's a House of Carandini, and we have talked about that 3 years ago in 2019 when we were doing these sessions about Christopher Lee and Dracula, so the order of Dracul, of the Draco, the dragon. And
I get it.
Yeah,
right. that makes sense now.
Yeah, and he's playing the villain in The Man with the Golden Gun, which heavily relies on the Bruce Lee stuff of Enter the Dragon, so no coincidences. Of course, Ian Fleming would have loved to see Christopher Lee portraying one of the villains in James Bond, because they were related to each other. Lee attended Wagner's private school in Queensgate, and his mother married Harcourt George St. Croix Rose. You know what that is? Would be a translation in English?
No.
Yeah, Saint is saint, and Croix is the cross, and Rose is rose. So the Holy Rosen Cross. Holy Rosen
cross. Croix is cross.
Yeah. So her mother married Harcourt George St. Croix Rose, a banker and uncle of Ian Fleming. Fleming, author of the James Bond novels, this became Lee's step-cousin. The family moved to Fulham, living next door to the actor Eric Maturan, and one night he was introduced to Prince Yusupov and Grand Duke Dmitri Pavlovich, the assassins of Grigory Rasputin, whom Lee was to play many years later. So many coincidences. So these people are just no regular actors. That's what I want to point out. So of course, then you get already the connections that all these actors are just predetermined what to do in their life, because they're just always coming from a certain hierarchy, from certain influential families, from nobility in the case of Christopher Lee, and he was then also related because of the second marriage of his mother, if I remember correctly a few minutes ago, to Ian Fleming. So Ian Fleming then made this book, Thrilling Cities. If you're not convinced, then you can look it up for yourself. Ian Fleming, a British writer best known for his post-war James Bond series of spy novels. Fleming came from a wealthy family. How come that every time I go into this, somebody comes from a wealthy family, with the exception maybe of James Dean or some other archetypes, but he came from a wealthy family like Christopher Lee. Connected to the merchant bank of Robert Fleming and Co., and his father was a member of parliament 1910. Come on, you see, it's always, in my humble opinion, you see that these people are just predetermined what they have to do in life by their families, most likely. And that's what Wikipedia points out, is that he was just a British writer. Yeah, so while working for Britain's Naval Intelligence Division. He was not a writer for the Britain's Naval Intelligence Division. He was involved in planning the Operation GoldenEye, the real GoldenEye, not the movie, and the planning and oversight of the two intelligence units, 30 Assault Unit and T-Force. That, of course, is only the official narrative. Yeah, maybe there are some other strange things going on in the background that nobody wants to talk about. He drew from wartime service and his career as a journalist for much of the background detail and depth of his James Bond novels. He wrote his first novel in 1952 at age 44. It was a success and la 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 la. Yeah. And Mr. Bond, as a character here, James Bond was also commander in the Royal Naval Volunteer Reserve. That's what I want to tell you. You see that these people are no ordinary writers. He's been sold as a writer, but he was also a spy or an agent, if you would like to say. So, of course, they were under attack in the Second World War from Germany, so it's no wonder that this United Kingdom has so much spies in the Second World War. Of course, everybody would want to protect his loved ones. This is one of the first pages of that book. I found there is also a signature here to Yuna, who did so much of the real work. So the real work of the writing was not done by Mr. Ian Fleming, but by his secretary. That is officially the signature of Ian Fleming. I have a hard time deciphering that, but maybe that is also when you have a secret spy service in a secret service that you have some strange hieroglyphs. So that is for Ian Fleming's officially secretary, which is called Una Trueblood, very strange name. Yeah. Who did so much of the real work. So I can suppose that Mr. Fleming was more or less a spy and the real work of writing or pinning down what else was done by others. I wonder what kind of ghostwriters this guy also had besides the secretary. Who knows? Yeah. Uma Trueblood reminds me of True Blood. There's a strange series, but yeah, True Blood. Yeah, sounds like somebody is very cautious of having pure blood in what kind of a circumstance ever. So, Una Trueblood was Fleming's secretary at Kemsley. She typed up the television treatment that Fleming later developed into the novel Dr. No, the first James Bond, 1962. Like many of Fleming's acquaintances, she gives her name to a character in the novel Mary Trueblood, secretary to the MI6 station in Jamaica. Una Trueblood, a real-life Miss Moneypenny, so a real-life real secretary. That's also came the fascination from these James Bond movies, that always the secretary of Miss Moneypenny, Miss Moneypenny, 33, is always in love with James Bond, and always he's got always cold hands. He has no time for her. That's an old story. But maybe there has also a relationship in real life, who knows. But Una Trueblood worked for over 10 years at Fleming's secretary at the Sunday Times. She was known as a demon typist. Yeah, can we agree on the fact that at least in the literal way it would mean that somebody is possessed?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so Rose is a terrible secretary but a demon typist. What's that kind of a demon typist? So somebody who's really fast, I think. I bet that a high percentage of 10-year-old does not figure out what that machine does. It's like handing him over an analog phone, you see? Huh?
Right, exactly.
You see, Rose is a terrible secretary, but a demon typist, a handsome boss, resolves to turn her into the fastest girl in the world. So a demon typist must be somebody who is typing like crazy, like there is, I do not know, yeah, like she's a machine, yeah. Oh my! Can you imagine, guys? You see, you see somebody typing here on that old-fashioned typewriter, I think that if you compare that with your modern keyboard, you would have a hard time using this. I know that my father had some of them. Oh. He's amazed. She's so fast. Okay, then we have learned a little bit. So she typed the manuscripts of Ian Fleming Bond's novels upon his return from Jamaica each year. True Blood was mentioned in Fleming's Thrilling Cities and was known by Fleming for her professionalism and fastidiousness, whatever that means. She was fast as heck, huh?
I guess.
Okay.
Fastidiousness or whatever. I've never even heard that word. I think they made that up.
Yeah, it's great that we do sessions and each of us learns a little bit. So, history from that article. The island of Hong Kong was occupied by the British Empire in 1842. In 1856, Britain acquired the Kowloon Peninsula on the Chinese mainland. The Crown Colony of Hong Kong was completed by the lease of the new territories from China in 1898. This lease was supposed to last for 99 years. Yes, of course, ended in 1997. In 1984, yeah, so think of the book of Eric Arthur Blair called George Orwell, also from Secret Service. The governments of Great Britain and the People's Republic of China made an agreement that the British rule over Hong Kong would expire on June the 13th, 1997. Since July the 1st, 1997 has been a special administrative region of China. For the normal visitor and tourist, very little, if anything at all, has really changed since then. The British governor was replaced by a Chinese appointed head of administration, but capitalism still rules and the cars still drive on the left-hand side of the street. Aha, so you know that in, I think it was Australia, Japan, and... Also Japan, I know, Australia, I'm not sure, but in the United Kingdom they drive on the left side. Yeah.
Yep.
The only you will get some different stamps in your passport. The urban beehive of Hong Kong is a bonanza of fascinating sights and experiences, and only few destinations yield their treasure so readily like this unique place on the verge of the Middle Kingdom. Highlights of a visit of Hong Kong would be, for an example, ascent of Victoria Peak. Okay, that's not so interesting. Let's go on. Fleming's journey. When Ian Fleming embarked on a commissioned tour around the world in 1959 to write stories for a Thrilling Cities book, his first stop was Hong Kong and Macau. And I always have to smile when I read this.
Yeah, no coincidence, huh?
Really, you know that the Jesuits have the best secret service. Yeah,
that's right.
You know who runs Macau.
Oh, yeah.
You know who
that's
runs...
a good thing to point that out.
You know who runs Macau.
Who is it, Michael?
E. Howard Hunt.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah. That's the one thing. On the other hand, it's just I think it's E. Howard Hunt.
Yeah.
So it's.
Mm-hmm.
No.
There you go. I gotta re-upload that video.
Yeah, the thing is though that of course he's also a paid liar. Yeah, but I think that's one of the issues or one of the instances where he told the truth.
Well, here's the thing though, Michael. How much? Sure, you can lie. You could be a paid liar, but the thing is that eventually the liar has to tell you why he's lying. If you're paying attention, he will. He'll reveal his secrets, so to speak, out in the open, because he can't help it. You know, because he's boasting.
Mm-hmm.
He's boasting. Oh yes, the Jesuits. Well, they're our masters. You see.
Yeah, you see, it's really a strange coincidence when we know that E. Howard Hunt from CIA said, we've always said, in an admiring way, that the Jesuits formed the greatest intelligence agency in the world and always have. Always means from the beginning, huh?
Right.
So I think it is no coincidence that he moved to Hong Kong and Macau, because in Macau, you see there, this is headquarters for the Jesuits in Southeast Asia, I would presume, because the first they landed then in Macau, they established themselves in Macau, which was officially under Portuguese administration then, but just come on. You see, that is really interesting, because read further. After being toured around for 3 days by his friend Richard Hughes, I don't know at the moment who that is, but I'm not eager to make 10-hour sessions, who was the Australian correspondent for the Sunday Times, thank you, Fleming moved to Tokyo, adding yet another story to his epic adventure. Now read the following sentence, please, Brett.
I'm trying to find out where I'm at because I can't read this. Hold on a second. I got to change something on my screen.
No. You don't have to change it. Yeah, I will change it.
Do.
You see. Now you can read it, I think.
Okay, where are we?
Red.
Oh, yeah, sorry. He described Hong Kong as the most vivid and exciting city he had ever experienced.
What a coincidence. Yeah, so to each his own.
Yeah, that's right. See, Michael has always commented to me, Brett, you should have a bigger screen. You have such a tiny screen that you look at for your computer. Well, yeah, I can't even read the words sometimes because I'm looking off in the distance. I'm not even looking
now
at the
screen. Now you can read it, I think.
Yeah.
So you see that he said that Hong Kong is the most vivid and exciting city he had ever experienced. So he was visiting Hong Kong in 1959. That is, the... I'm so sorry.
Yes.
Bruce Lee was here, timeline. That year that Ian Fleming was visiting Hong Kong was the same year that Bruce Lee travels back to United States. And his President Wilson steamship, or whatever that was then going to Japan. Of course, when you travel from Hong Kong to the West Coast, you travel eastward. So therefore, the next stop would be Japan. But it's very interesting that also the journey of Ian Fleming was starting in Hong Kong and Macau and then got to Japan. So these two guys have something in common. Remember, I'm not making anything up. I'm just quoting the article. And the article starts off Ian Fleming and Bruce Lee's Hong Kong. And when I look at the timeline, it's at least very interesting. To me, maybe not to other people, but to me. So if you are in intelligence, you always are eastbound. You don't start when you are located in England. You don't start with Berlin or Hamburg, which was just nearby. No, you start with Hong Kong and Macau, and then you go to Japan. That's the same route that Bruce Lee took. Interesting, but maybe just only a coincidence. Yeah, let's move on. So that's the article. Maybe that's a little bit more sunshine brightly. Maybe that's more pleasant to the eyes. Yeah. That's the left one of the picture here. Richard Hughes, pictures on the right of the left photo. That's the guy would model for the character Dicko Henderson in Fleming's You Only Live Twice. Okay, so in Ian Fleming's novels, James Bond never visited Hong Kong, but in the films he visited the city 3 times. That's interesting. Yeah, so it was not in the novels, but it was being modified and changed by the people who made the movies, where we know they were related to the mafia, for example, when it comes down to Mr. Albert Romolo Broccoli. Yeah, so they changed the location from the script to the movie. The first time was in 1967. That was the year when Vietnam was in full swing. In You Only Live Twice, pre-title sequence when we witness Sean Connery, James Bond, being killed in a fold-up bed. While this exciting scene was obviously filmed at Pinewood Studios, the arrival of the police cars in the busy Hong Kong streets was filmed on location. Means Hong Kong. It was filmed at Shang Tung Street, around the point where it crosses Nathan Road in Kowloon, which is the mainland part of Hong Kong. It will probably not come as a surprise when I tell you that 50 years of urban planning has made this location totally unusable for old-new comparison shots. And so this is just an excerpt or a still here from that You Only Live Twice 1967 from the James Bond movie. But there are other connections as well. When George Lazenby, you know that James Bond from 1969, stepped away from the James Bond role after making On Her Majesty's Secret Service in 1969, the famous year with Woodstock and the Sharon Tate murders and the moon landing, he had a very hard time finding an acting job. This was mostly due to everyone around him proclaiming he was difficult to work with. So, like Fleming, he traveled around the world for a while and eventually ended up in Hong Kong. Quite a coincidence, the heart of the Asian kung fu industry. Here Lazenby was recognized as James Bond, while no one seemed to know about the negative air that hung around him in Europe and the United States. Lazenby got the feeling he should be able to find work here, so he tried to get in touch with the biggest star in this part of the world at the time, Bruce Lee. This is Bruce Lee, not in Hong Kong, but yeah, it is in Hong Kong actually, because they are just mimicking in Hong Kong here the remains of the old Colosseum of Rome. After having reached megastar status with his first two movies, The Big Boss and Fist of Fury, both for Golden Harvest Studios, Lee had teamed up with Golden Harvest producer Raymond Chow to form Concord, a production company that would set new standards in Asian cinema. Carefully watching how films were made in Hollywood and impressed by the Bond films, Lee filmed his next blockbuster, Way of the Dragon, partially in, for Asians, very exotic settings, Europe. The Rome Colosseum fight between Lee and 6-time karate world champion Chuck Norris, actually filmed in a hot studio in Hong Kong, is a feast for the eye and still stands today as the best choreographed fight ever captured on film. When Hollywood noticed Lee's Asian success, they interrupted his work on his latest project, Game of Death, by offering him a chance to become a worldwide star. Warner Brothers produced Enter the Dragon, a James Bond-like film tailored to fit Lee, shot completely in Hong Kong, in which Lee stars alongside American stars like John Saxon and Jim Kelly. When Enter the Dragon was still in post-production, Raymond Chow heard the news that ex-James Bond star George Lazenby was in town and tried to set up a meeting. Enter the Dragon and the Silhouette of Hong Kong. In an interview Lazenby gave in 2000 to Hong Kong cinema expert Bay Logan, he explains, I was so flat broke at the time I had to take the bus from the Hyatt Hotel to Golden Harvest Studios. It took me about 3 hours. When I finally got there, I met Raymond, and Raymond called Bruce, who was in the editing rooms, and Raymond said, look, I've got George Lazenby here, come and meet him, and Bruce was like, I'm not interested. Lazenby continues, the first time I really met Bruce Lee, we were going to have lunch, his car pulled up, and in the back seat were Bruce and the reigning Mr. Hong Kong, Bolo Yong, in the front were Bruce's wife Linda and his secretary. Bruce said, get in the car. I got a hard time believing this. What kind of a car should that be? You see, I know from Mr. Bruce Lee that he got a red Mercedes-Benz convertible. But I read here that this car has been occupied by Bruce Lee, by Bolo Yong, by Bruce's wife Linda and his secretary, and Bruce said, get in the car. I say, but there's no room, so the secretary gets out and I get in. So 4 people in that Mercedes-Benz, I have to believe it. I think she's going to get into Raymond Chow's cars behind us, but she gets back in on my lap. Then off we go. When we were in the car, Bruce was talking away about his philosophy and so on, and he talked about the fact that there would never be peace in the world until we got rid of different religions, because different religions cause chaos. And I said, that's not you, that's Krishnamurti. He was surprised I knew Krishnamurti, and even more impressed that I'd actually been to visit Krishnamurti in India. After that, we were like brothers. Yes. And where is the evidence? And where are the pictures? No, not one picture of Bruce Lee with George Lazenby. Yeah, on the one hand Bruce Lee, and on the other hand Chow talking to Lazenby. We hadn't booked at the restaurant, so they had to wheel out this big round table and we could have lunch. Now Bruce could tell that I was broke, so he turns to Raymond and says, give George 10,000. And Raymond goes, what, why? Bruce goes, we are going to make a film with him. And Raymond goes, what film? Bruce goes, never mind what film, just write the check. And you have to believe it. And I do not think that that we would agree on believing this. I later found that Raymond Chow had a 49.9% share in the Concord Company and Bruce had a 51.51% share. And I think that so much for the credibility of that article, huh?
Yeah.
So do the math. Yeah, that does not sum up, and I think it was 50-50, by the way, but it is never 101%.
Right.
So Bruce was calling the shots. Yeah, so Raymond, it is just the content. It's not that somebody does a lousy job here, but it's just the content of James Bond, Ian Fleming, author visiting Hong Kong. Yeah, let's concentrate on that and not of that all that BS is just here for entertainment, it seems. After lunch, the typhoon warning had been taken down and Bruce took me to the Hong Kong Shanghai bank to cash the check and then took me to his tailor and they had fit me for a suit, which they made the same day. Side note, at this point it might be smart to inform you of you are not familiar with George and his storytelling, that the stories are usually rather exaggerated and often composed of different versions he'd been telling people over the years. His true closeness to Lee cannot be easily confirmed or denied simply because everyone involved is no longer alive except for the storyteller himself. The 49.9-51.1 shared division George mentions here, for instance, also seems highly unlikely. No, it is absolutely wrong math. Most other sources state a normal 50-50 partnership between Lee and Chow. Yes, of course, I don't give a damn for Mr. Lazenby's story. Yeah, he's just using Lazenby also has only been using as an alibi cover-up. I was going to be in Game of Death, and then the way he talked about it, we were going to be in a whole new string of pictures together. He told me that it'd be good guys playing good guys and he would never kill me off his film. Yet I think we could spare all the stuff. Then, on July the 20th, 1973, the unimaginable happened. Bruce Lee died before any of their great plans could materialize. While Lazenby and Chow were waiting for Lee at the Miramar Hotel restaurant in Kowloon, of course, being controlled by 40K Triad, Michael Chan Wei-man, the latter had been given a pill against the headache that they had bugged him all day. He lay down for a while but never woke up, and this is all BS. In my humble opinion. So, for Lazenby, timing couldn't have not been worse, and his collaboration with Lee almost certainly would have made him a huge star in Asia. He said, after Bruce died, I thought that was that. Then I got a call from Raymond Chow, say, look, I've got you 10,000 of my money. He wanted to make 3 films for Golden Harvest. Lazenby said, I don't know anything of Kung Fu, but he told me that it wasn't a problem, and thus started Lazenby's active involvement with the Hong Kong film industry. For example, here in Stoner was first of Lazenby's project for Golden Harvest Studios, 1974, 1 year after Bruce Lee died officially. From an idea that was developed during the making of Enter the Dragon, it was meant to be a sort of sequel to Enter the Dragon, only bigger, with a bigger budget and bigger stars. The original title was The Shrine of Ultimate Bliss, and the movie was supposed to star with Bruce Lee and Japanese star Sonny Chiba. Expectations were literally sky high. Enter the Dragon had grossed over 100 million worldwide, and Shrine was expected the double of or triple of this result. Warner Brothers would co-produce and give the film a worldwide release and a 10 million marketing budget, which is gigantic for that time. After Lee's death, Warner Brothers dropped out, and so did Sonny Chiba, because he thought it didn't make sense to make the movie without Lee. Lazenby was brought onto the project by Golden Harvest, and Angela Mao Ying and Sammo Hung were now presented as co-stars. The film nevertheless did quite well on the local market and turned Lazenby, who played the main character Joseph Stoner, into a minor star within the genre, even though it was barely released outside Hong Kong. Second came The Man from Hong Kong, starring Jimmy Wang Yu, so another Kung Fu star. In 1975, Lazenby co-starred with Shanghai-born actor Jimmy Yang Wu. This exciting action-packed film about drug smuggling was known as the US and the Dragon Fights. It can only be about triads and drugs, I think. It's the only topic they are really fascinated in Asia. In the genre, these films are very well received. Financially, The Man from Hong Kong did pretty good as well. US rights were sold for 200,000, etc., etc. And The Queen's Ransom marked the end of Lazenby's involvement with Golden Harvest in 1976. The film revolves around IRA man George Lazenby, who plans to assassinate Queen Elizabeth II when she visits Hong Kong. Even though the film features a very good fight between Lazenby and co-star Angela Mao, Queen's Ransom is clearly the weakest of Lazenby Golden Harvest film, and it left all parties involved a little bit disillusioned. Shortly afterwards, Lazenby went back to Australia without becoming the great white hope of the martial arts genre Raymond Chow apparently envisioned him to be. Australia, that's where in the end of the movie passes. Oh, and he came from New Zealand, but nevertheless, okay. Financially, the deal with Golden Harvest was pretty good for the former James Bond. He had been paid $10,000 per week for his acting, plus $1,000 per week for expenses, so that we have the same amount of $11,000 that in 1969 officially Bruce Lee got for being the fight choreographer of The Wrecking Crew with Sharon Tate. What a coincidence then. A total of $11,000, but that must be a coincidence. Ah, come on. The second time, so the first time that Hong Kong has been introduced was just in the trailer of the You Only Live Twice in 1967 with Sean Connery. The second time James Bond fans could see their hero visiting Hong Kong in the cinemas was in 1974, when it was still an undoubted outpost of the British Crown in East Asia. The Man with the Golden Gun, 007, first goes to Macau, which belonged to Portugal, from 1957 to 1999. Since then it has been like its bigger brother Hong Kong, a special administrative region of China. He arrives in the Casino de Macau, on a floating casino which is located on a permanent moored floating barge on the inner harbor. 007's spectacular means of transportation to Hong Kong is a hydrofoil or jet foil. It needs about an hour for the ride and is a thrilling vehicle for an outing to Macau. On its way, it passes the wreck of the cruise liner Queen Elizabeth, was mysteriously caught fire and rolled over in Hong Kong Harbor in 1972. In the meantime, since 1974, this weird Bond location has been removed. The hydrofoil reaches Hong Kong at the Macau ferry pier, etc. So really interesting. So like Ian Fleming in The Man with the Golden Gun, 1974, when Ian Fleming officially long was dead, then Mr. James Bond was then going to Macau. Ah, what a coincidence. Macau, where the Jesuits are. All the way from Macau, Bond follows the beautiful Andrea Anders, who is picked up at the pier by a Rolls-Royce 007 Hong Kong liaison. Mary Goodnight informs him that the car belongs to the fleet of road cruisers of the luxurious Peninsula Hotel. Yeah, everybody wants to have a Rolls-Royce. Why? Because Hong Kong then was under administration of the United Kingdom. Therefore, the United Kingdom's officially cars for royals, of course, is the Rolls-Royce. Yeah, and Bruce Lee's mother is kind of related to that family as well. Only a few hundred yards to the north at Hancock Road 14 is the former location of the Bottoms Up nightclub, where Bond witnesses the assassination of the solar energy expert Gibson. Being Hong Kong's first topless bar in 1971, it was popular with women as well as men. 4 circular bars with individual music were connected by mirrors, and topless barmaids used to sit in the center of these round bars on very large swivel stools. For years, the billboards on the entrance referred to the fact that the club has been a film location in The Man with the Golden Gun. In 2004, the club moved permanently to another street, and it closed its door in 2009. But it was the location for The Man with the Golden Gun, with the mirror room in the beginning of that movie of 007, and it is clearly a reference to Bruce Lee. One of the best Bond locations, in my opinion, is Dragon Garden, which served as High Fat's estate. While the beautiful wall estate is Thai on the film, it's actually situated along Castle Peak Road in the western part of Chuen Hua in the New Territories. Yeah, so what else to say about this? In a funny twist of fate, composer John Barry enters the story in 1978. After having completed his scores for The Man with the Golden Gun in a time when British tax laws made many high-grossing artists leave the country for good, to avoid having to pay up to 99% income tax, Barry moved to California. He eventually got officially accused of tax evasion and couldn't return to the United Kingdom for years because of this. It was also the reason Marvin Hamlish scored the follow Bond film, and Barry had a hard time finding interesting projects to work on. In the meantime, in Hong Kong, plans have materialized to complete the film Bruce Lee had been working on after Way of the Dragon. It was originally supposed to be Lee's way of showing the world his ideas, his vision and his unique self-developed fighting style Jeet Kune Do. The film's plot originally revolved around a lone fighter who ends up at a pagoda where he has to fight his way to the top, battling different styles of fighters on each floor. The original concept was very good, and by the time he died in 1973, Lee had already filmed 3 of the planned 5 floors at Golden Harvest Studios. The 100 minutes of raw footage had been shelved since his death, and 1978 Golden Harvest has made a serious attempt to finish the film. Unfortunately for all involved, the only thing that came out of this idea was an artistic disaster. Only 11 minutes, I'm not making it up, 11 minutes of Lee's original footage was incorporated in a totally new plot which dealt with Chinese actor Billy Lo, who has trouble with local mobsters. He fakes his own death so he can deal with the gang. The film was completed without any of the original actors, mostly because they all refused. The main characters, Lee's role, was played by 2 different look-alike actors, and an old footage from Lee's earliest film was inserted to match the new actors with Lee's footage of the pagoda floor fights. The most dreadful scene is one in Billy Lo's dressing room. About 5 minutes into the film, we see one of the stand-in actors filmed from behind while he faces a mirror. If then cuts to a cardboard image of Bruce's face in a mirror. While I write this, I suddenly realize how funny it is that they seriously thought they could get away with that sort of cheap crap. For the soundtrack, Bond veteran John Barry was approached. As said, Barry hadn't been able to find many interesting projects while outside the UK, and this wasn't really his cup of tea either. In an attempt to politely get away from the project, he demanded an unusual over-the-top fee. To his great surprise, Golden Harvest agreed, and Barry had a job. The soundtrack he delivered for the film is the last highlight I can mention for the film. The haunting instrumental theme song definitely has that James Bond Barry quality we all know so well, and it brings back memories of the instrumental theme he composed for Lazenby on His Majesty's Secret Service. It features a very recognizable combination of notes that made me realize that it is highly likely that Barry already had this piece of music shelved for future Bond use. I don't think it was written specifically for Game of Death. Yeah, so much so for all the coincidences then, huh? Conclusion and reflection. Does the Hong Kong connection end there? No. Actually not. Hong Kong nearly made it as the main subject of a Bond film when a script was developed about the British colony being handed back to China in July 1997. In the end, the subject was dropped and that film became Tomorrow Never Dies. The plot did, however, make it into Raymond Benson's James Bond novel 0-10, and it was not the first time Hong Kong featured in a continuation novel. In 2002, Eon tried to spice up with the Bond films with exotic locations again. One of them was a return to Hong Kong in Die Another Day. Without actually spending a second time there, director Lee Tamahori fools us with a background projection of the colorful lit skyline of Hong Kong Island, in front of which we can see James Bond Pierce Brosnan emerge from Victoria Harbour just to visit his usual hotel, this time dressed in rags. Hong Kong still is a very interesting place to visit. It was already like that in the late 50s when Fleming arrived, and it was even more fun in the 70s when virtually every Caucasian-looking visitor was approached for parts in Kung Fu flicks. Some of Bruce Lee's toughest-looking opponents in Way of the Dragon turned out to be backpackers who just happened to be around town. So I can only encourage you to visit Hong Kong. Who knows in which film you'll end up. Yeah. And always interesting is that they have renamed the movies in Hong Kong. It's also every time that it's not only Dr. No, but James Bond bravely destroys the mysterious island. It's always bravely. James Bond bravely destroyed. Yeah, it's very interesting when you think about the time then that it's been under British occupation. Yeah, so the Caucasian hero James Bond is always portrayed as bravely. Live and Let Die. James Bond bravely destroyed the Black Evil Gang. Yeah, that's funny in itself. James Bond bravely destroys a space city. Oh my, it's really hard to take. Yeah, and you see that that is a clearly a resemblance to Kung Fu movies when Roger Moore was being approached by karate experts.
Yep.
So, what do I have found out also? Let's look it up. Yeah, you see that with Pierce Brosnan, Die Another Day. Yeah, that is just a projection here. Yeah, you see that they fool you into believing that it actually took place in Hong Kong. But it has been admitted, at least in that article, that it was just a projection. So you do not know where somebody is. Maybe it's also in a studio, like Bruce Lee fooled everybody into believing that they fight in the Colosseum, which they didn't. They shot a few parts outside of the Colosseum. Yeah, Bruce Lee running, Chuck Norris running, but that's it. So, I have to look to Mr. Ian Fleming. Ian Fleming, on the left side, has been portrayed as just a writer. You have to believe it, and you have seen it on Wikipedia. He's been sold to you as a writer. Yeah, but if you look a little bit closer, you see that Ian Lancaster Fleming was an English author, journalist, and naval intelligence officer, best known for his James Bond series of spy novels. Yeah, and you see him here in his naval uniform. Yeah, naval because you see here the waves on his arms. Huh? And that looks also, this emblem looks a little bit like, of course, it must be a cord, could not be a serpent. Huh? It must be a cord, sure, I have to believe it. Yeah, and that's also for me the same thing that it connects everything here, is that also these actors, writers, novelists, and all these people are just playing a part for Secret Services. Don't believe me? You don't have to believe me. So that's also in the case of that author and occultist Aleister Crowley, because he also served as a Secret Service agent, at least officially in the First World War. So everybody whom we are talking about has been sold as just an author, or here just in the case of Christopher Lee, yeah, he was SOE, Special Operations Executive. And has been knighted. Yeah, you see, a regular actor, of course, you have to believe it. So, Mr. Fleming was at the Naval Intelligence Department. And that's not all. You see, there is a book out which is called Secret Agent 666, Aleister Crowley, British Intelligence and the Occult. And in my experience, the occult only serves as another curtain to hide all the secret societies.
A front, yeah. It serves as a front.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really good way of putting it, too, is, you know, there's just like layers and layers of... pardon my French, but shit, you know, layers and layers of shit to go through to get to the core problem. And that's kind of how we see politics. That's how we see the church. That's how we see, you know, doctrine, of course. You know, a false doctrine, my friends. Not the real doctrine, okay? Layers and layers of shit.
Yeah. Yeah,
it's always this way, yeah.
Yeah, you see that when you look into books that people have speculated about, that Aleister Crowley at least served in the First World War, British Naval Intelligence. You see, British Naval Intelligence is Ian Fleming as well. It's always the same. You don't get up into hierarchy if you don't follow the agenda, if you don't participate in the big game of just deceiving all the people.
Well, yeah, I think that's one of the main reasons why we have so many enemies, Michael, online, or just rather people that are totally not interested in listening to us, or even looking into the things we're interested in looking into, is because it's just, you know, there's always a means to an end, right? I mean, and to me, you know, the end justifies the means. These kinds of things, you know, if you're in it to make money, if this life is all about enjoyment and making money, well, I'm sorry, you're not going to find friends here on this channel, right, Michael?
Yeah, you see that I'm just working my ass off. I'm just reading books constantly, and you see that it's just a bunch of distraction.
Yeah, it's not that fun. Really.
No, it's not that fun, but you see that every time you compare all the stuff, then you get to the nitty-gritty in the long run. But I have a hard time imagining that somebody who is just fathering two children, has a busy job and all the problems at home, can do that extensive amount of research that we are doing. And so therefore, and therefore that these sessions are very long, but you see that I have, you see, to sort out all the lies, it's just such a hard work, because you see that whom to believe, and in the end you can't believe anybody but the Bible. Yeah, so therefore this Bruce Lee project, I hope, is really the last subject that I have to go into when it comes down to all this media stuff, because it just totally BS everywhere. The thing is, though, that of course somebody uses occultism as a front, and it is highly likely that it is in the case of Aleister Crowley in the First World War that he was employed by the British Naval Intelligence NID. So all these James Bond novels and all these Ian Fleming actors and else, you see that it's just a huge family. In that book of Aleister Crowley, on page 24, we read, "The origins of the British Secret Service go back at least far as the reign of Elizabeth I, when the redoubtable Sir Francis Walsingham organized a network of agents to aid Queen Bess in her struggles against enemies, foreign and domestic. Two of those agents were the scholar and Magus Dr. John Dee. Magus means Magi, and is equally occult verse
Simon Magus, yeah.
Simon Magus.
Remember Simon Magus in the Book of Acts? Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, that's quite
Book
a study.
of Acts, chapter 8, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah. And his equally occult verse assistant, the disreputable Edward Kelly. Dee's secret signature is said to have inspired Ian Fleming to adopt 007 as the codename for his fictional secret agent James Bond. Crowley fancied himself the reincarnation of Kelly, a conceit that may have helped him draw into the clandestine's labors. It's also very interesting when I looked upon this this entire stuff, and I came across the following. There is a secret department, at least that is what Wikipedia is telling you, LCS, London Controlling Section, established 1941 under Oliver Stanley with a mandate to coordinate Allied strategic military deception during the Second World War. The LCS was formed with the joint planning staff at the offices of the War Cabinet, which was presided over Winston Churchill as Prime Minister, who was a Freemason, among as being other things. At first, the department struggled to have any impact, and the organization was publicly revealed by Sir Ronald Wingate in 1969. That very special year, moon landing, Sharon Tate, blah blah blah. And look here. The LCS kept a replica of a dancing faun on its conference table in London, symbolic of the ruses de guerre that the organization played. Yeah, you can fool any other guy, huh? This is a dancing faun. A faun is a half-human and half-deer mythological creature appearing in Greek and Roman mythology. And look here. These late-form mythological creatures borrowed their look from the satyrs, who in turn borrowed their look from the god Pan of the Greek pantheon. They were symbols of peace and fertility, and that is really, it is unbelievable lie here. Yeah, the god Pan was never a symbol of peace and fertility. Yeah, it was a symbol of lust and deception. Yeah, so statue of a faun can be found where? Oh, what a coincidence! Look here, please.
Yuck.
Yeah, you see all these saints and pagan idols and sun wheels and obelisks and all the stuff.
Yuck.
Yeah. And where do you also see a faun, which is a symbol of a secret society here, LCS, in London, under the supervision of Winston Churchill? Where is it mentioned? In H.G. Wells' The Time Machine in the year 802,701, and you only have to add up the numbers. It's always the same. It's always the same, you see? It's not hard. On page number 247 we read, Wheatley, so that is another author that made the books that movies had been made out, have been displayed of Christopher Lee. Mr. Dennis Wheatley's own ties to intelligence predated the Second World War. In the conflict, he would become a member of the super-secret LCS, a body presided over by Winston Churchill. The LCS oversaw military security, code-breaking and deception. Another associate was Peter Fleming, not related to Ian Fleming on the outside. A curious detail about the LCS is that the mascot was a Roman statue of Pan, a deity Crowley knew well. Could its presence at the gatherings have been more decorative? Yeah, and that you have to look for yourself. Yeah, you see, a Roman statue of Pan, and Crowley has been very prominently for having made a poem, Hymn to Pan. Come on, you see
Michael,
there. Yeah.
Michael, I'm sorry. I know you're really upset about this subject, but listen, I'm a little slow this morning, and you were going through the numbers back there, and I just realized that's the numbers. Those are the years in the novel, The Time Machine, right?
Yes. That's just a fictional number. Yeah.
So this is fictional. Yeah, fiction.
Yeah.
It's Antichrist.
Yeah, it sums up to 18, so it's always the same. Yeah.
Of course.
Ugh. Yeah.
So they want to entertain you with this garbage all the time. That's what we're getting to.
It's so simple that even a not waken up American can get it.
Yeah, that's right. But it takes a staunch German who never fails to come up with these documents to point it out, you see.
It is just only Wikipedia. I just saw it in Wikipedia. I just typed in "found" and then the article came, and I said, okay, H.G. Wells, okay. Yeah. And I said, okay, then look it up, 800 and 1,000. So you see it.
Wow.
It is just so. It wears somebody down, you see.
Yeah, exactly. But it all makes sense now. It comes into focus now.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we're speaking about the enemy here. This isn't, biblical.
Yeah, but you see that if a secret society corporation being under supervision of Winston Churchill, being a Freemason and a Druid and what else himself, and making the famous victory sign.
Michael, I was just thinking about this the other day. It was like an aha moment kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Think about the day and age we live in right now. I mean, all of the sorcery that's been done by these agents of Satan. Let's just call it what it is. I got a phone call from Daryl Eberhardt. I think it was it Thursday night? Yeah, Thursday night. And we were talking about it. It's just, it's just never going to end. And it's not going to end well because, I mean...
It never ends because the people don't care, you see.
Well, of course they don't care. It's the natural man, Michael.
It is the V sign, which has nothing to do with peace, as well as the fauns and pan, which has nothing to do with peace. Yeah, it has everything to do with worshipping the Horned One or Satan. But you see that even here, at least in Germany, here, children at the age of 3 and 4, they are making that fun of somebody else stepping behind them and just flashing their V sign behind their head. Yeah, so that somebody looks like a rabbit with big ears or so. Yeah, that just the children are being indoctrinated with that. Even
this is a really tough one because I have a friend that does his thing on social media every day, and he's always using this V sign.
Yeah, but it's a V sign, and you have to see that even if it is a victory sign, then victory for whom? And victory is just your English word victory comes from Victoria, so the Roman goddess of victory, of war.
Oh, that's another way to look at it. Yeah, good point, Michael. Thank you for that.
The problem, or that I feel really sorry for American people, because the American people, they don't have most of them don't have a culture of their own. Yeah, so
No.
you have many people who have been pushed into Indian reservations and all the stuff, who really are the cultural people of America, then of the original America, and all the
Well, the same is true with not only America but with Australia as well.
yes.
Same thing.
Yeah. Yeah. And so what do you have kind of a historical knowledge, you see, when you only refer to your school knowledge, you're totally lost in every field. In every field, so
Yeah.
yeah. So
that's true. I mean, you know, and then we look at the Jesuits' plan for education, and oh, Michael, it never ends.
No, but
It's not a simple thing.
My point is that secretly they are working together. You see that all the media, actors, writers, authors, Secret Service, Secret Society, everybody is working together. And sometimes you see it flashing up when you know their symbolism, or you know their task, their agenda. John Whiteside Parsons, who was the founder of JPL, who now is just a division of NASA. And it gets worse when you speak about so-called artificial intelligence. Yeah, that means censorship, actually. Yeah, so it's a hard time to get into information, and I think we're on the verge of the beginning censorship soon, which is getting worse and worse. So let's do this when we get the possibility to do so. Here in the German part of John Whiteside Parsons, who was the one who was starting the rocket engineering in the United States of America, at least one of them, he was this is German Wikipedia only. It is not part of the English Wikipedia, so therefore I had to translate it from German to English.
Oh, thank you, Michael.
Jack Parsons, beside his scientific work, was a follower of the occult teachings of Aleister Crowley and practices magic, with a K means the 11th letter, so Freemason. He saw no contradiction in it and performed an invocation of the god Pan before every rocket launch. So that is the same god Pan who has been on the desk as a statuette of the London Controlling Service in Secret Service. What a coincidence. And it's the same Pan that Aleister Crowley has made a hymn to Pan. Night of Pan, hymn to Pan. So it's always the devil. It's always the same.
Yeah.
It's always the same.
And it's sitting right there in the Vatican looking right at you.
It's always the same. It's just different names, but it's the same entity. Yeah. So that Jack Parsons was appointed by Aleister Crowley to head the Agape Lodge of the Ordo Templi Orientis in California in 1942 in the Second World War, after Crowley removed the previous head of the Agape Lodge, Wilfred Smith, from the position. You see, where shall I start? The problem that I got with it is I'm so bored with all the stuff, and somebody who was just coming by is totally getting overboard by all this information, which is totally usual for us now. Yeah. And so that is the problem. You see that all these people, they're just playing a part, and you have a hard time guessing what kind of a part they play, but they just only play a part. This John Whiteside Parsons, one of my favorite characters because it is so easy. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It is just only in a Wikipedia in a German that he was doing an invocation of the god Pan. It is only in the DE Germany Deutschland Wikipedia. If you switch to the English Wikipedia,
that's good information to know, Michael.
Yeah, but if I switch to the English Wikipedia, which I did, and I just type in as a search phrase Pan, yeah, then you have a company, participant, company, but you
scroll back up to the top, Michael.
I'm sorry, I have to. It's here. They were initiated. Let's look it up. The initials of this motto Topal also serving the declaration to Pan. I would like to know. I'm getting so back. Look here. Parsons decorated his new room with a copy of the seal of revealing a statue of Pan and his collection of sword and daggers. So, but where is that invocation? So you find a little bit of here, you find a little bit of there, you find sometimes nowhere. It is here. Okay, I have to correct myself.
Oh, yeah, religious beliefs. Very interesting. Really, Satanism is a religion? Oh, yeah, it's probably the most popular.
Yeah, and he's something in common with Bruce Lee, too. You see, Parsons had also attended lectures on theosophy by philosopher Ridha Krishnamurti. Yeah.
See, that's the problem, is that, if we really get into the subject of religion deeply, we're going to offend a lot of people. And that's what we've done on this channel, Michael.
So you see, that's the problem with it. You see, everybody does it, and that's my problem with it, with the new normal. The new normal is Satanism, so we are doing sessions here,
right,
and people say, what do they want? It's just normal.
Right. Well, and not only that, but, it also has to do with sensationalism, Michael.
Yeah, they are just making fun of it. You see, there's also a television series.
Mockery. Yeah, where
man can get pregnant or what.
Oh,
yeah.
Give me a break.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's woe to them who call good evil and evil good.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it really means.
Mm-hmm.
Because they're flipping it all around, Michael. They have to. They have to flip it all upside down, make make evil good and good evil. See?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but
go ahead.
Just the problem that both of us are encountering, the people, they think that we are the loonies.
Fine.
No, but you see,
I don't have a problem with it.
I don't have a problem with them too, but the problem is that other people who were just on the search of the truth, so they think that the things that we are doing, they are too radical or what else, because they are not getting used to this. They think that they behave as normal and that the world is just totally normal except a few things which are not fitting. But that the entire world has been deceived. So from the beginning of time. That's too big of a lie for them to comprehend and to grasp. I think that's the problem with it. You see that you can go in Aleister Crowley, you can go into this and go into that, but everything is connected, interconnected, like the internet. It's internationally connected. It is not just restricted to the United States, or that it's just a country full of lunatics in North Korea. No, it is in the entire earth. And that is what people have a problem with, because they could not grasp it. Where does it come from? And this world does everything into deceiving the people. It has nothing to do whatsoever with religion. It is just few politics. It's just Trump. He's so total a lunatic. And there's just a storming of the Capitol. And come on, you see that? Yeah.
Storming of the Capitol. I mean, I want to laugh about it because it really is ridiculous,
Yeah, but the people, they just have only their 8 o'clock news here in Germany, for example, and they believe every word that the television is putting out in front of them.
Well, that's the problem. They're putting their trust in man. They're not doing their due diligence to research everything that is said.
Yeah, look at here. You know that Reuters is a news agency from the United Kingdom, right? Like...
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
what's the other one? Reuters?
Reuters is the United Kingdom. Yeah, Associated Press there is, and all the stuff.
BBC.
Yeah. So you see here, Crowley's pal Gerald York, also under Reuters cover. So these newspapers are serving as a cover here. Was busy spying in China alongside Ian Elder's brother Peter. Oh, it is a brother, Peter Fleming. That is interesting. What a coincidence. Haven't we mentioned Peter Fleming before? Oh, come on, you see. Crowley may have known the Fleming brothers by the early 1930s. You can bet that he knows them. Yeah, but you can't believe it because you can't prove it. The problem is because it's Secret Service. You don't get a handbook. Oh, by the way, this is the published handbook of all our secrets of 1930s. No, it does not happen. Does not happen. Yeah, but everywhere that you have this author and that author, and so you see Cecil Williamson alleged that he had been tapped by SIS, Second World War, to head a witchcraft research center. That's so hilarious. Williams claims to have collaborated with Ian Fleming, Dennis Wheatley, that's also a horror author, which I have mentioned before in the connection with Christopher Lee, and others definitely linked to Crowley. William also gained a reputation as a master of fabulator. Yeah, you see, whom to believe. Yeah, and then also there are some strange things of Mr. Rudolf Hess, who allegedly was flying from Berlin to Scotland to end the war in the Second World War. And Aleister Crowley, they'd offer his services to interrogate him because Hess was extremely fanatic occultist with astrology and all the stuff. And we have talked about this before. But,
right.
Yeah. Yeah, and Ian's brother Fleming, Peter Fleming, has written a novel called The Flying Visit, which offered the provocative scenario that Adolf Hitler flew to England and ended up in British hands. All these coincidences everywhere. It's just a coincidence. It's just a coincidence, you see. Yeah. Crowley noted Tom Dryback as somebody who could testify to my status and reputation in this matters. Please do not research Tom Dryback. I did that, and it will spoil your appetite. Really, it will spoil it. I can really promise you this. Fleming himself found work with William Walpole Donovan, whom President Roosevelt has named Coordinator of Intelligence. Out of that came the Office of Strategic Services, and out of that the CIA. And it must be all a coincidence. So, come on, everybody is working together. What did E. Howard Hunt say? The Jesuits formed the greatest intelligence service and always have.
Yes.
So
that's
it is
really the synergy here.
Yeah, it is not restricted to Hong Kong, which is only a part of the United Kingdom, you have to understand. It is not only limited to the United Kingdom, it is also not limited to the United States. It's the entire world.
Have you ever stopped to wonder why we have such an, I hate to say this, but an endless supply of just corrupted souls in this life, when we have all of these lies floating around and everyone, you have to believe it. If you want to make some money, you got to believe it. So then you end up believing it. Yeah.
They believe it because they believe a lie, which has been mentioned in the Bible just right from the beginning. So the Bible knew before, 2,000 years ago, that people would not get more clever. They would be dumbed down because they do not learn the entire things because they have
That's the real problem, Michael. The dumbing down of everything. Yeah. I mean, we're all suffering through this, whether we want to or not.
Yeah, you see, you can go in endless books, but who's right, who's wrong? Yeah. Also, here, the companion of Mr. Parsons, Agape, American division of Crowley, apparently or allegedly or what else. Yeah, he had a relationship with a former United States Navy officer called Lee Ron Hubbard, the future founder of Scientology. You see, they're coming all out of these military structures. So it's where to start of all the stuff. Yeah. I'm always fascinated with that Mr. Parsons, yeah, because I came across him when I was looking for the Alan Parsons Project, which is a Freemason Luciferian music group. Because the grandfather of Alan Parsons, if you make a song about Lucifer, an instrumental in 1979, and I had that vinyl stuff, yeah, you see, it's so obvious whom he's serving, yeah, and then he calls his album Eve, who has been deceived by the serpent. And there's a track of Secret Garden and all the stuff. You see that I'm getting sick of all the stuff. But his grandfather, his father of Alan Parsons was Dennis Parsons, and he was the grandson of the actor Sir Bernard Tree. And that guy He founded the Royal Academy of Dramatic Art in 1904 and was knighted for his contributions to theater in 1909. So no wonder, huh? You don't get it. You don't make it if you not have any connections. You see, Alan Parsons himself has been sold as, oh, he was a wonder boy, and once he was going to the Abbey Studios, to the Beatles, and then he was discovered as a producer. Sure, when his grandfather founded the Royal Academy of Dramatic Arts. Yeah, sure. What a coincidence. Ah, come on. And then when I was doing research into Alan Parsons for Just a Music Group, I came across then that Jack Parsons, and Jack Parsons is not his real name. His real name is John Marvel Whiteside Parsons. When somebody has been named Marvel, I was getting very curious.
Yeah. The name Marvel, yeah, that's...
Yeah, and his father also was named Marvel H. Parsons.
Really?
I think there's something to it. Jack's father returned to Massachusetts, so after being publicly exposed as an adulterer with Ruth, with his mother forbidding him to having any contact with Jack Parsons, JPL Laboratories, Alan Parsons... This, you see, Aleister Crowley follower, his father later joined the armed forces, reaching the rank of a major. Every time I see the army here. Yeah. And his father of Jack Parsons, I know that everybody is confused out there, know who I'm speaking about. His father, Jack Parsons, follower of Aleister Crowley, he was registered for military service in 1919. He died in 1947 and was buried in Arlington, Virginia, United States. I said Arlington, Virginia, United States. That reminds me of something, Brett.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Sure, go ahead.
Although she retained her ex-husband's surname, Ruth, so the mother of Jack Parsons, started calling her son John. But many friends throughout his life knew him as Jack. And I said, there was another one who was called John Fitzgerald Kennedy, often referred by his initial JFK, and was having the nickname Jack. This is just a bunch of coincidences everywhere. Every John has been named as Jack in the United States, it seems. Huh.
Yeah, well, my dad was named Jack.
Yeah, so it's just a
my
coincidence.
grandpa named my dad Jack. Yeah, it's pretty funny. Yeah, it goes in a long story about my family, but anyway, yeah, it's interesting.
I just want to show you, this is very interesting. You see that the father of John Whiteside Parsons, or Marvel Parsons actually, he is been buried in Arlington, Virginia, United States, as well as Arlington, Virginia, United States. There are many, many Freemasons there buried. Many, many presidents are buried there too. You can only wonder why. Yeah. So that guy, Mr. Jack Parsons, Strange Angel, has nothing to do so far with Ian Fleming, or does he? Yeah, you see, where do you want to start? And the secret services who are just worshipping Satan in any disguise, with having a statuette of the god Faun or Pan, Aleister Crowley, Pan, occultist, Ian Fleming has ties to Christopher Lee, has ties to Winston Churchill. Mr. Parsons had also begun to investigate occultism. Yeah, that helps when you just have to deal with the NASA, and performed a ritual intended to invoke the devil into his bedroom. You see, everywhere. Yeah, but let's stop it, because I think that we can agree on the fact that it is merely no coincidence, in my humble opinion, that Ian Fleming went to Hong Kong and Macau first, because I think that is the outpost of the Secret Service for Asia. Because the Jesuits went there very, very, very early on, in the 16th century even. Yeah, you see Saint-Francois Xavier, Bruce Lee, college then, and somebody is speculating about Ian Fleming. Does James Bond, Ian Fleming, have any Masonic features? There are rumors that Ian Fleming was a Freemason, but it has never been confirmed.
Well, it's a secret society, just like many other characters we know that are part of this thing.
Yeah, and this, of course, here, yeah,
you can't prove it, so then it becomes a mockery. You become the mockery, see, because you're the one that brings it up, you see, so it's your problem, not ours. You see how this works?
You will know them by their fruits, the Bible says.
There we go.
Yeah.
That's
So it's
right.
all Masonic in my humble opinion, but who am I? Yes. Do I
Yeah.
have to prove it, or could you use your own two eyes? Yeah. Of course, this can be nothing else. Yeah. On the grave of Mr. Ian Fleming, who was just pinning down the author, just heading for Hong Kong and Macau, just pinning down all these James Bond novels. And of course, this must be here nothing else but a rocket, or what is it, afterburners, or what else? Yeah,
Boosters or whatever they
yeah,
are.
yeah, of course, this is a rocket here. Yeah, that is, it in no way, shape, or form this would resemble a kind of an obelisk like in Dealey Plaza for the Freemasons. No, that must be then a rocket. So what I shall end this is, it is just your belief, what you believe, because the lie is so sweet and you don't have to care about it, because they don't have to listen to sessions like us. You only have to listen to your television, and then you look for soccer, you look for Formula One, you look for NASCAR, you look for golf, you look for Kung Fu movies, you look for James Bond. Yeah, don't worry yourself that you have been fooled your entire life, because, of course, this is not an Easter egg. And this,
Well,
of
that's
course,
the problem.
is not a
Yeah.
rocket.
Yeah, right.
And the cross is not a Christian symbol. Yeah?
No.
So you can,
You're right.
you can be fooled until the cows come home. See?
Yeah. Yeah, that's right.
Until this cow comes home. But I can't do
And
it.
eventually, Michael, the cows do come home. They do.
Yeah.
So
but
eventually you're going to learn, okay, oh, yeah, I really was deceived.
I think in the end, you see, people do prefer to listen to beautiful songs like Green, Green Grass of Home, yeah, or A Cow with No Name, or what else? You see? Yeah, or maybe to read books from Alistair Cowley. I do not care. And you see that if the media or your 6 o'clock, 8 o'clock news are telling you that this is a father of rocketry here, I think that the majority of people would believe it. And that's where my research ends. You see that I think that the majority of people does not want to know the truth, because it would scare the hell out of them. Yeah, into seeing that they have been deceived, and into realizing that their true faith maybe is not good enough, or how else to say it.
Well, they put the faith in the wrong place, Michael. When you believe a lie, what do you expect? The question is, what kind of outcome do you wish to have? A good afterlife, or chance of an afterlife, or not? That's the question. You would rather have it now. Oh, I want it all now. Yeah. Then you get yourself in big trouble in the afterlife. That's the thing, because all these sorcerers and occultists, they're all using this black magic spells or whatever it is. To me, it's all it all belongs in the toilet as far as I'm concerned. Just flush it all down. It stinks. It's incredible, Michael. Incredible how this world has completely bought the lie. Bought and sold. And you just can't give up your debt system either, can you? Yeah, incredible. There's the cow.
Yeah, there's the cow, you see, and somebody does not want to see it, he will not see it. So I'm wishing you much success in the following of the next Bruce Lee sessions, because that Bruce Lee sessions, in the end, I think the outcome will surprise the majority of people who would never dare to be so radical like us, maybe. So thanks for having me, Brett, and I'm signing off.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you for all the time and consideration you put into doing this research and bringing it to the English people, the English-speaking people, which don't know German. I'm one of them. I'd like to learn German, though. So I have nothing against all of the different languages. It's just very difficult to learn. As you know, when you get older, as the old saying goes, it's hard to teach an old dog new tricks. And with that, we'll catch up with you next time, God willing. Bye-bye. We'll know our disinformation program is complete when everything the American public believes is false.
Like the moon landing?
Yeah.